Round 1 of the London Chess Classic started with explosive action, but peaceful results. In the All-American matchup between Hikaru Nakamura and Fabiano Caruana, it was the recent World Championship challenger that went out guns blazing. Caruana threw everything he had against his opponent's king, and Nakamura was against the ropes. He found ways to hold on and escape by the skin of his teeth. Levon Aronian proved yet again his expertise in the Spanish as he put tremendous pressure on Maxime Vachier-Lagrave's position. The Frenchman resourcefully sacrificed an exchange, and thanks to inaccuracies by his opponent, the game simplified into a draw. The players reversed color and tried to flip the script as Day 2 Classical Chess coming up next. Welcome to Day 2 of the London Chess Classic. We are here with the final 4 players of the Grand Chess Tour after a thrilling season. Day 2 means more classical chess. Behind us, the Wellington Arch, commemorating Great Britain's victories in the Napoleonic Wars. Let's see what kind of battles the players bring to us today as we take this action back to our studio in St. Louis.
Thank you, Alejandro. And here we see Fabiano Caruana backstage, kind of chilling before round 2. Actually, I see him talking to former manager, international master Lawrence Trent. Always a crowd favorite. And of course, we see Maxime Vachier-Lagrave as well.
With Rustom Qasimjanov there as well.
I'm Jennifer Shahade. I'm here with Grandmaster Yasser Seirawan to call round 2 of the Grand Chess Tour Finals London Chess Classic.
Right. Always good to be with you, Jennifer. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our coverage of these finals of the Grand Chess Tour. We're using a different format this year, elimination matches. Jennifer, and the first day was really, really good games.
Oh, yeah, it was actually thrilling. When you only have 2 classical games, you're always a little bit concerned. What's going to happen?
Right.
Are they going to fizzle out? But no way. I mean, Fabiano Caruana really kept us on the edge of our seats yesterday, as he also did in London at the World Championship. So we're used to seeing this guy in an exciting battle. That said, both games were drawn. The game between Fabi and Naka, and also the game between MVL and Levon.
Exactly. Well, let's take a look at our current scores.
Well, yes, if we look at our current scores, we see that we have 3 points each. That's because there's 6 points at stake in each classical game. So, so far, everybody has grabbed 3 from round 1. Note that you're going to need 15 out of 28 total points to move on to the finals here at the London Chess Classic. And the runners-up will play for Grand Chess Tour positions 3 and 4. And here we see our tournament schedule. We are in the Classic Game 2 out of 2 classic games, and then tomorrow we move to Rapid and Blitz. Now, don't be fooled by that parenthetical playoffs. We play Rapid and Blitz no matter what.
Exactly.
It's just that at the end of the Rapid and Blitz, the scores are tied, then we do go to playoffs.
Exactly.
And we do it all again for the finals.
Well, let's take a look at the format.
Well, we start with classical chess games, and those are worth 6 points each. Then we move to Rapid, 2 games of Rapid. Each Rapid game is worth 4 points, and the Blitz games are worth 2.
That's how you get the 28 points total, and that's why you need the 15 to win the match.
What a marvelous shot here, Yaz, of Grandmaster Hikaru Nakamura.
Behind the chair.
That's right. He looks very confident and calm. He actually came to the hall early. It looks like the earliest of any of the players. Recently having celebrated his 31st birthday, Nakamura seems to be a calmer version, but just as good as calculating, as we saw yesterday. And we've got with us Grandmaster Cristian Chirila, who's going to give us his thoughts on today's matches.
Thanks, guys, and welcome back, everybody, to Day 2 of the final leg of the 2018 Grand Chess Tour, the London Chess Classic. Despite the peaceful results yesterday, we've seen some explosive games, and the matches are heating up. Let's look at the head-to-head going into this event from the Grand Chess Tour. Between Caruana and Nakamura, we see Everything is very, very close, very tight. In the classical, Fabiano is leading 1-0. In the rapid, everything is tight. But in the blitz, Nakamura overwhelms Fabiano. 4 victories to Fabiano's 2. In the other match, the match between the Frenchman with 3 names, MVL, and the superstar of Armenia, Levon Aronian, everything is tight. What is it going to take to separate this man? We see in blitz 3-3, in rapid 1.5 to 1.5, in the classical a draw. What's going to take to separate these two? Only time will tell. Let's go to London and hear what Alejandro has to say about all of this.
Thank you, Cristian. We're here at Google Headquarters Center of London, and what a spectacular venue it is. You can breathe the chess culture in the building. We have, of course, the players in the London Chess Classic. Well, they're very strong, but there are so many grandmasters here. We have the British Knockout Championship. We have the live commentators, a lot of the seconds. We have former FIDE world champion Rustom Qasimjanov in the house. We have Etienne Bacro. And let's not forget, this is the house of arguably the strongest engine in the world currently. Alpha Zero is being developed here. This is arguably the best place to play chess here in London. Let's see if the tie is broken today, as we have Hikaru Nakamura with the white pieces. He had a tough day yesterday, but he survived. And Levon Aronian, who put him pressure, also with the white pieces. What do you think, guys? Do you think the tie is going to be broken today, or are we heading equal into the rapid and blitz?
We'll see, Alejandro. Certainly soak up that atmosphere, get that chess spirit going, that Alpha Zero going. But Jen, these matches, big prize money up for grabs.
That's right, a lot of stocking stuffers, yeah. You said the dice with stocking stuffers, you won. That might turn me from being Jewish, yeah.
Can we put 120,000 in your stocking?
That's right. We've got $120K for first and a total prize fund of $300,000. Notice that differentiation for third through fourth because they are going to be playing a third place match.
Exactly.
But just that swing between making the finals and that, there's a lot at stake, guys. Because your expected value in the final is $100K, 6 figures.
Exactly. So good reasons to win the match.
And you got to wonder what the strategy will be today. Of course, I think the players with the black pieces will have no problems going into the playoffs, especially Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, knowing that he's playing black today and he's such a strong blitz player.
Exactly.
4 blitz games at stake. He's happy to go into the playoffs. Nakamura feels the same way. The difference there is that Nakamura is the one with the white pieces.
Exactly. And again, 2 stories. The first, of course, is this man, Fabiano, has a chance of becoming the #1 rated player in the world in classical chess. Should he win, he would overtake Magnus Carlsen. And then, of course, in the blitz, you have MVL, who's also #2 in the blitz rating, just behind Magnus Carlsen. So MVL will be looking to score very well in the blitz. And Fabi, of course, is looking to score very well in the classic. But he'll have black today, and want to get Cristian to jump in here. Cristian, what is Hikaru doing these days with the white pieces?
Well, I think he's varying his openings. Generally, I think he opens up with 1 c4. He also tried 1 d4 a few times. 1 e4, of course, is one of his main weapons. He's trying to kind of surprise his opponents in the opening, and his second, Chris Littlejohn, is doing a fantastic job with the computers, and he's feeding Hikaru a lot of interesting ideas and interesting novelties. So we're going to have to wait and see what he has against Fabiano. But what is his strategy going into this game? Is he looking for a mellow game in which potentially he could press for a long time but without much risk? Is he looking to take more risk than necessary? I don't think so. I think he's going to try to look for calm waters and just try to take Fabiano to the rapid and blitz tiebreaks.
All right, and then Levon Aronian, I would have said a year ago, Levon was more of a c4 queen's pawn opening player, but Levon, Jennifer, he's become 1 e4 and let's go.
That's right. In the Sinkfield Cup, he played so many interesting games, including one against MVL, right?
Right, but will we see an open Sicilian Najdorf? We know MVL is a stubborn Najdorf player? What do you think?
He's a sitting duck in d4. He's a sitting duck in e4. He plays the Grunfeld against d4. He plays the Najdorf against e4, and he doesn't do anything else.
Right.
And this really helps him in the blitz and rapid time controls because he knows these positions by heart.
Exactly.
In the classical, though, you have a lot of, and especially Aronian going into this match, he had a lot of time to prepare new ideas in both the Grunfeld and the Najdorf. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see 1e4 or 1d4 today. And then, if they once they go into the rapid and blitz section, Aronian is going to start to try other ideas in new openings.
Okay, so I'm predicting 1e4 for the Levon game, but in the Nakamura game, no predictions.
I'll go with 1c4.
Yeah, you're going to go
I'll
with
go
an
with
English?
1c4, yeah.
Now, of course, in the World Chess Championship match, 1c4 was played twice by Magnus, and e5 was Fabiano's response.
That is true.
But it was only in the rapid, the tiebreaker, that Magnus scored with 1c4.
No, absolutely. And, Fabiano is quite stubborn himself. He shows his openings and he trusts them. He brings new ideas to the game all the time, but generally at a later stage of the game. So we're going to have to wait and see where Nakamura is going to try to target Fabiano. But nevertheless, I think Fabiano will not have a lot of difficulty getting out of the opening. With all the preparation he has behind him, I don't think this is going to be a difficult task for him to equalize.
Right.
I was trying to recall that game between Levon and Maxime that was so interesting. And it was not in the Sinkfield Cup. It was in the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz. That was that wild Najdorf where Maxime had a great position and then Levon ended up winning. Remember that?
No.
Okay,
How did it go at the end?
I remember that.
There it was. Okay, you got it on.
Yeah, well, maybe Cristian can bring it up later.
Yeah, but that's nice. Okay, that was a fun game. But you're right. That was the Rapid and Blitz, not the Sinkfield Cup. So these gentlemen, also very, very close friends, MVL and Levon, always makes it a little bit awkward. I always had difficulty in my chess career playing against somebody I was really close with. How about you, Jen? Well, how did you deal with friendship issues? But first we've got
Saved by Malcolm.
Saved by Malcolm.
Of the semi-finals of the Grand Chess Tour finals. I'm Malcolm Payne, the Chief Executive of Chess in Schools and Communities, the UK charity that delivers chess to 25,000 state school children around the UK, and we organise the London Chess Classic. We're very proud that this is the 10th edition, and it's already proving to be one of the best. We're very thankful to DeepMind for giving us this incredible venue. It's been nice to talk to some spectators here just before the games who've coming here for the first time, and just amazed at the wonderful playing conditions and surroundings that we're lucky enough to be able to play in. Now, it's a tradition of the London Chess Classic that we'll always like one of the children who are in the programme to make the ceremonial first move. And earlier this morning, the three schools who are here for schools activities played a match against some children from the Parisian suburb of Agnières using a video link and some chess.com software, and I'm pleased to say that the children in London won 2-0. And yep, there we are, hands in the air. And I particularly liked the amount of noise that we made on the second game when we counted down the French team as they lost on time from 10 seconds down to 1, and then an enormous cheer at the end of the game. Yeah, it could have been football. So I'd like you to welcome, to make the ceremonial first move, one of the players who is making a lot of very, very good suggestions, including one extremely nice move that won a pawn and set us on our way in the first game. So please welcome from Goodwin School, Alex Gwinnett. Oh, excuse me. Garrett, excuse me. Alex Garrett. Thank you. So, Alex, come on up. So you're going to make the first move for Hikaru. And we've already seen what a good player you are. So what move would you like to play? Make sure it's a good one. Okay, you can make it. You make it. All right, shake hands with Hikaru. All right. Have a shake. That's it. Hikaru.
Pretty good move.
Pretty good move. All right, we'll see if he keeps it. All right, very well done then, Alex. Thanks a lot. And yeah, you must come back again next time we have to play Paris. All right, let's get the games going.
And there we have it, Jennifer. 1e4, good move. But should Hikaru play 1e4, then we could expect the Petrov. And let's see, has the clock been started? The
Not
pawn
yet.
on e4?
There it is, though. I think he's keeping it.
He's keeping e4. Yeah.
Oh, no. He is.
There he is. Yeah, he wouldn't. Think about it psychologically. If he wanted to play d4 or c4, he wouldn't keep the pawn there
Exactly.
because it could create some confusion.
Did we see
Right.
c5? Are we seeing
No,
c5?
No, E5.
E5. No, like I
yeah.
said, we would
E5.
expect the Petrov after knight f3. He could play the bishop's opening, bishop c4 to try to dodge the Petrov, but no, right into it. Okay, well, we'll see if Hikaru can do something that Team Magnus could not, which is pierce the Petrov.
That would
get some advantage.
That would be something.
Yeah, if he could do
I'll have to
this
give it to him if he manages to find something.
to get an advantage. Well, we'll certainly keep a very close eye on that game. And then, of course, let's just take a look at the Levon Aronian game.
Is it a Sicilian? No.
No.
But
and
it's also exciting.
The one game that I really expected e4 in, Levon actually started with knight f3, and it's a hybrid. It's a
That's the thing. Levon is so
Of,
good at this, at
the Grunfeld.
various move orders.
Right.
All the time.
Right.
Comes up with something new and confuses you, and then it's very difficult to find those over the board, to find the best moves over the board.
Right.
And it seems they're going into this old line.
That's right.
You probably are an expert on this, are you?
Yeah, I played a lot of games with this. In the old days, bishop e6 as well as knight d3 check were the two favorite moves. Knight d3 check.
So now there's the option of equality. After knight f4, king f1, knight d3, and then you can repeat as white.
Right, but of course against knight d3 you would probably just play queen to e2. Here, after knight f4 check, king f1, bishop e6 was the old
Bishop
move.
e6.
Bishop e6. That's what they used to do. Then I had a game after bishop e6. Again, this was the old theory. Ooh, knight
Going
e6.
knight e6.
Okay, that's very different than what I'm used to. Black has moved his knight how many times? 1, 2, 3,
Not as many
4,
as
5,
Bobby in
6.
Game 6 of the World Championship.
Exactly.
No one's going to beat that record.
No, I was just going to say that this was the old line, bishop e6, as played numerous times in my career, and then we would take, and I had introduced this pawn sacrifice idea with b4 against Adam Kuligowski, a grandmaster from Poland, but knight e6 was MBL's choice, and okay, that's moving. Again, this knight went to f6, to d5, to b4, to d3, to f4.
And we do have a pawn sacrifice on the board. He played the move d4.
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 Well, you want to try to take advantage of your edge in
I love it.
development.
D4 turned against Maxime yesterday, but will work out because it was a similar principle with Maxime when he played D4 yesterday,
Right.
which was later quibbled with because he ended up getting a worse position.
Yes.
But it was such a natural move.
Right.
But here, very early in the game, similarly, we're trying to take advantage of Black's weak development, and I
Exactly.
love the move when I see it. I mean,
Right.
I'm
But
an
now
E4
you-
player, so
Yeah, but now you've got to justify. Well, I mean, all of Black's pieces are on the first rank, but now you've got to justify what's the follow-up.
Okay, so
I take it. Now you could
knight D5.
potentially, if you were really worried about your material, you could play bishop takes e6 and knight takes d4.
That bishop is so sweet.
But you wanted to play knight d5.
Knight D5, yes.
Yeah, if you're going to sack a pawn, play it as if, it's what you want to do. Knight c6, do we want to play b4 like I did with Adam Kuligowski?
I kind of love the idea. I mean, also notice that bishop on c1 doesn't have any other obvious squares. F4 and g5 are taken up, right?
Well, f4 and g5, you're right. They
Well, although
are.
bishop g5 we could play because I'm not sure.
Sure, I would take it.
Yeah, just
But, okay, even if you were to play bishop g5 and I'd ask you, well, what's your intentions?
yeah.
Like, okay, if I play like a Grunfeld And
It's-
I mean, right now I've got this pawn pretty firmly defended.
So
Maybe
B4 I like better. Let's try
Yeah.
B4.
Yeah,
That
I do
seems much
too.
more natural.
because the idea is that after, let's say, A6, bishop here, your intentions are clear. You want to play A4 and B5 and, you know, well, win this pawn back.
Well, let's continue along because we'll probably play G6, Bishop G7, which helps us also to castle. So
G6 and bishop G7 right away also.
maybe.
Maybe.
You,
I just wanted to turn it to Christian
problem
for a
with-
second and ask you, Christian, is this all theory?
I will have to check that in the
sorry.
database because my database is now working very well right now.
Okay.
But I'm sure this has been played. If not, Levon definitely has seen this before
Yes.
in his preparation. And this
Okay.
is exactly what I was mentioning yesterday. We're going to see some very interesting ideas because he had so much time to prepare for this match. Since
Exactly.
August, he knows that he's going to play against Maxime. And to make a comparison with the World Championship match, we've seen black dictate where the game is going generally. In this instance, white is dictating where he wants to take the game.
Right.
And I think this is going to definitely give him a very good chance at scoring today.
All right, very good. And turning to the game between Hikaru and Fabiano, the players are following, I don't know precisely which game number, but this was all played in the World Championship match in London.
right.
And this is the knight d7 and d5 line of play. And this looks like it's all been seen before. Theory up to this position after bishop d3. And the first thing that goes through my mind when I see this move, bishop d3 on the board, is I start to think, well, are you going to play bishop takes h7 and knight g5 check? I'm going to be afraid of that happening, so I start to think, should I try to go and eliminate this bishop?
Well, Bishop C5 was played actually.
Bishop c5 was
And
played
then,
already?
immediate-
It's already done?
Yeah, Bishop
Wow.
C5 and then Bishop D4 quickly by Hikaru.
Okay, so both players showing that they're very well prepared because they've just been zipping right along here. And now, again, I'm looking at these two bishops, eyeballing, well, I want to say potential sacrifices. Bishop takes h7 check, knight g5 check, bishop takes g7, these types of things. And black should not be just sitting waiting for white to execute his
So
plan.
Bishop takes D4 played. Now,
Bishop takes d4.
at first glance, this move looks like, okay, well, white's going to get some kind of small advantage because we have the better bishop. And now you've gotten rid of your dark squared bishop. The bishop on c8 doesn't have a home yet. But okay, at the same time, how big is it? Yeah, it's like if I just play knight f6 here, notice
Knight
that
f6.
I'm looking for the e4 square. The bishop might be able to come to f5 or g4, depending on, obviously not f5 now.
Sure.
But the only
Yeah,
thing,
I mean, it does look a little bit like a French defense exchange, French white. Well, with both sides castling on opposite flanks, I've got to think,
And
by
they
the
are
way, we
going
did-
exactly into that variation.
I've got to think that white's a little bit better. I want to
Yeah.
say that, you know, you want to play knight e5 and you want to play f3 and g4. And basically, because the kings are on opposite flanks, I want to make a pawn attack against your king, and you presumably want to make a pawn attack against my king. But I feel that white's attack,
Is
should
this
it come
over-
down to that,
Is this oversimplified though? For example, after knight e5, I can just try to exchange some more pieces with the move knight g4.
knight g4, definitely.
and I think that's one reason that Hikaru did not play that very natural move. Instead, he played rook on d to e1.
Getting out of bishop g4.
And trying to lend support to the e4 square.
And Christian, just because I feel that this line of play is very
Bishop
consequent.
h5.
Okay, you are going to go this way, yeah?
Yeah, I just want to exchange all the pieces basically, all the light pieces, and
And then here you just feel
queen
you're
e7. I
okay,
think
yeah.
I should be perfectly fine. Maybe even slightly better because you kind of overextended on the king side.
Yeah, probably I should not have played this G4. Again, I just feel that white is for choice because I feel like with the kings on opposite flanks, I've got a chance of getting to your king more than you've got a chance of getting to my king. However, having said all of that, knight e5 was not Hikaru's choice. He just played rook on d1 to e1, sidestepping bishop g4 because, again, knight e5 would be the response. And how to judge this?
At this point, I look at the g4 square.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at it for my knight.
Okay.
Because you no longer have the pawn on h2. You can no longer shoo him away from g4 with the move h3. So I can just stable it on g4
Stabilize it. Yeah.
Stabilize it. Yeah.
You're not afraid of, well, knight g5 and f3. That's asking.
Maybe I should start with h6 first.
Okay. From the very start. h7, h6. Well, now.
And again, knight g4.
Okay, so let's say I go. And again, all I'm trying to say is that with the kings on opposite sides, and I'm going to play 4 pawn storm, g4.
I do agree.
Yeah. That am I not at least a little bit faster?
Your king looks much safer.
Yeah, in this case,
that is true.
Maybe c5, c4, because my pawn is a. Well, it's an intriguing attempt. I wouldn't say it's a massive novelty or a massive play for something, but at least there's some imbalance going on.
It's
here.
exactly the type of game that Hikaru is looking.
Exactly.
Risk-free, and if you make slight mistakes, slight
Exactly.
inaccuracies, you're going to end up in trouble.
Knight e4 played.
By the way, I do think knight e4, not knight g4 or h6 or anything like this. Knight e4 on the board, right, Jen?
Yep, that's right. Knight e4.
Okay.
Fabiano knows his theory.
And so now if
So-
queen f4, knight f2 doesn't work because you're just going to play what, like.
Well,
Well, you have a lot of options. Let's have some fun.
My intention was to sacrifice.
But you could have also just played the prosaic knight g5.
Probably.
Yeah, just because
Yeah.
the rooks and the knight's in take and mate. Yeah.
Okay, so you're right. I could have just played knight g5 and made it a little bit simpler
Double
on
attack,
my side,
yeah.
myself.
Oh God, that looks bad.
So don't play knight f2. So queen f4. Okay, you attack my queen posts up on f4, countering an attack against your knight. Don't blunder a tactic like
Rook to
oops,
d4.
oops, no queen d6. Okay, so
I
what
was thinking
happens
actually
here?
about
But queen
to
f6.
f6. Yeah.
Queen f.
Queen f6.
Because we don't have the rook e4 tactic anymore because that queen is protected on f6, right?
Okay, so
Yeah.
Knight takes.
takes and something, again, this looks pretty lame.
That's the question.
Yeah.
How much does white have in this position?
Now, remember...
Again, knight g4 should come on the board, most likely.
Exactly, because I'm remembering the game between Magnus
And he's actually
Fabi.
going into that variation. He played the move queen f4.
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember the game between Magnus and Fabiano, played here in St. Louis during the Sinkfeld Cup, where it was an ending, where Magnus ended up moving his rook and getting in g4, the famous shush game.
Yep.
The famous shush. Okay, but we do have on the board queen f4, queen f6, very decent move. By the way, you Cristian, wanted to say that in this case you thought knight g4.
He did go queen f6.
He did go queen f6, and you thought knight g4 was the right
Yes.
way to try to
generally
equalize.
try to exchange all the pieces, and
Right.
I mean that's
And
what.
by
you
the
should
way,
do.
they're just going right into this, and they are both really moving quickly. Jennifer, just dang. By the way, just to everybody, once again, it's the 30-second delay. It's not a 30-second bonus. So the delay, they're not gaining the time, but you think they would want to use their delay. They're just
No. But that
pushing
begs
it.
the question.
I'm not sure they're interested in this game, guys.
That is.
You
Is
think
Hikaru
that-
actually willing to play
Well,
this one?
obviously.
Or is he trying to make a quick draw and just go to the rapid and blitz?
I think he's just played king c1, has he
He did,
not?
yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people thought before the game that he might want to just take it to rapid and blitz, but maybe he's going to fool us all.
But that was, of course, Magnus's strategy too. Was he wanted to take Fabiano to the Rapids tiebreaker. We know that in Blitz, what a monster both MVL and Hikaru. By the way, that's how Hikaru became the #1 seed.
Yep.
Christian, didn't he have like
He won
first places?
back to back in Paris and St. Louis.
Yes. And then Leuven? Who was?
No, I think he got second place in Leuven.
Very, very good.
But remember, they're going to have to do a 3-move repetition to make a draw. So.
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah, there's no draw offer.
There's no draw offers.
Yeah.
Let's go check back in.
Oh, this is the actual, that all happened. Oh my
Yes.
After King C1. Okay, that's where we're at now.
That's where we're
Yeah, at first I thought
currently
this was
at.
an
Just look at that score in Paris.
Oh boy, that was a big result.
But then
for-
again, in Leuven, actually Fabiano held his own, and he actually beat Nakamura quite convincingly, 2.5 to 1/2.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, after you play Magnus in a rapid match, Nakamura can't seem that scary, right?
No, nobody's that scary.
It's kind of
as
like
the world
weightlifting,
champion.
right?
Yeah.
Like, well, it might be a tough weight, but once you've done 20 pounds more than it,
You're
it's gotta
very
feel-
confident.
Exactly.
You're pretty confident. Again, we'll just come back to our other game. Nothing has happened since
Nothing has happened, no.
D4. Have you managed to take a look at our databases?
I was looking at a few games.
Yeah.
There is only like 5 of them in total, and the last one has been played actually this year by 2 young grandmasters, and that was actually won by Black. He played the move knight takes d4, and I think after knight d5, bishop f4, follow up, try to attack this move knight to c7, try to take advantage of the fact that your dark squares are a bit weakened on the queen side, and obviously you don't have. I have a big lead in development as
Exactly.
white. That is his big trump in this
Right.
position. But c takes d4 is also a move, and most of the times white in this position plays the move bishop takes e6.
Okay.
He's not going to follow up by giving up the pawn, by allowing black to maintain his pawn with knight to c6. He wants to take it immediately. Whether we're going to see that or not, that's going to be left to the players. But I have a feeling Aronian has some ideas, because, to be honest, I don't like giving up the bishop pair like this.
Exactly.
With bishop takes c6, it seems like it allows black to stabilize. Potentially bishop to d7, then knight to c6, g6. It doesn't seem like you have all the pieces necessary to create a huge attack in this
Right.
position. So maybe he's going to go bishop takes c6. Maybe he cooked something else at home. We're going to have to wait and see. But at the moment, it seems like Vachier is definitely surprised by his opponent's opening choice.
Exactly. Speaking of home cooking for just a second, I mean, I like D4 as well. I mean, that was Jennifer's knee-jerk reaction. D4 looks good. But take the move D4 back for just a moment. And in this position, B4, just having a different, if you're going to sacrifice a pawn, here's my intention. I want you to take on B4.
B4 is definitely a good move.
And then
knight
move
to D5.
Yeah. And
even
I
the
think-
engines like it.
Okay.
It looks like a very nice
setup,
nice idea.
right? Because I mean, we all like the Wings Gambit.
Absolutely. This is an improved version. Of the
Yeah,
Wings Gambit.
exactly.
All your pieces are out. You just have to go G3.
And I've got a center.
Not even G3. Maybe even H4, H5, and get the rook out this way.
Right. Okay, but
I like this.
Yeah,
I like
D4.
this B4.
Huh? And again, you say there was a recent game where D4 was played and knight takes D4 was
Knight
played?
takes D4 was played.
Okay, knight takes D4. Boy, that's another move with a knight.
I know.
I mean, this is an opening circus where you
That's
can move
7
your-
in a row.
What
Seven
about
in a
moving
row.
just like bishop e3 or something?
Aren't there
there?
other pieces in the in the army? Just one knight?
Yeah, I'm just
Wow.
worried about like just a move like bishop e3, and then if you play knight f3,
Oh,
if you play like knight f3, queen f3, all my pieces
Bishop E3, I
Thank
think
you
I'm just
very-
going to go
coming
knight
at
C6.
you. Bishop takes f7. Oh, it's not check, right? Because our king's only one. Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
you-
bishop f7 here.
yeah, you can't allow the old bishop takes F7.
So what do you do?
Knight C6.
Yeah,
Just
Yeah.
defend the knight on D4. Seems
develop.
like a sensible choice.
Sorry, after knight takes d4 in that
Also, I have a
previous
feeling-
game, what was played? Do you
I'll
recall?
have to check. I
could
think it was
also
knight
play-
d5, but I'm going
Knight
to have
D-
to recheck.
Yeah, if we play knight d5
Immediately? Wow.
immediately, yeah, that's strange.
What is that?
Because there's a c6.
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to give you the old heave-ho. I don't...
That's weird.
That is weird.
I think we would want to play like, I want to find a way to play something on the c7 square. You know, either bishop f4 immediately or knight
Bishop
d4.
f4 was played in
or
that
knight
game.
d4 followed by like knight b5. That looks dangerous.
Yeah, that looks much more sensible. More
This is how the game works.
sensible to it. Yes, please.
Bishop to f4, knight to c6, knight to d5, obviously attacking
Okay, that's
knight to
why,
c7,
yeah.
knight e6, bishop g3, bishop d7. And as we can see, black is still a little bit cramped.
Right.
But white doesn't have a clear way of bringing this rook into play.
Into
Of
account,
course, he played the move h4,
Right.
then h5 and rook h4 and so on. But if black manages to stabilize this position, then he's just going to be a pawn up. If he manages to get this bishop out from f8, maybe by via g6, though he has to be very careful. That's why white played the move h4, potentially aimed at if he plays g6, I'm going to go h5 and try to open you up on the king side. Where are you going to put your king? Black has to answer a lot of questions, and if he's not familiar with this line, he's going to have a very difficult time doing so.
Well, it's funny because that's a challenge that would be right up MVL's alley. If you could just continue your line there, g6, h5, bishop g7. As a Grunfeld player yourself, you may appreciate the nice diagonal that the dark square bishop is on.
Absolutely, absolutely. The question remains, will you be able to actually keep this bishop on the diagonal after bishop g7? Let's say I just defend the b2 pawn. Do I even have to defend the b2 pawn? Maybe I'm going to give you another. Oops.
Oops. You wanted to push me away.
I want to push it. Unfortunately,
You can't do it.
Just a reminder to everyone
Yes.
that you can interact with us using the hashtags Grand Chess Tour and London Chess Classic. So if you have any thoughts and you have something really clever to say, tweet us because maybe we'll read it over the air.
Absolutely. So I've got...
And Tatev Abrahamian is actually here doing the Grand Chess Tour
I
Twitter
saw
feed.
her,
So
yes.
there's a lot of exciting points that she's making as well. She's kind of highlighting key positions, interacting with users. So if you have a question for us or for Tatev, hashtag or tag at Grand Chess Tour.
Very, very nice. I have the position that you wanted, Christian, on my board.
I think
And-
we're going to have to use your board.
Okay, that's fine.
predominantly.
And you wanted to say H6.
yeah.
So you're challenging me to take the to
Rook b1.
yeah, and move my bishop. I don't know.
The question is
exactly
where?
Yeah.
You're going
And
to have to
then-
give me your bishop. I'm going to take it most likely, or I can just take on b7 first.
Right, and we could get some crazy positions like this, where you can take the bishop when you want.
Right.
Yeah, and back here, after you've played the move h6, I did have the other choice, just simply going back. And now
I don't know.
But you're right. I have questions to answer. Where am I going to put my king? How am
I'm
I
going to go queen
untangle?
b3 in this. It just
Yeah.
looks very ugly, to be honest. Also, I
Well-
have ideas such as knight g5 in this position.
Knight
Maybe knight g5 first.
Knight g5 first. So the idea is that you want to
Win a queen.
yeah, you want to conquer the c7 square with knight c7 thanks to the bishop support. Oops.
We're having
Okay.
too much fun here, Yaz.
Well,
This is the type of
I'm
position,
a pawn
yeah.
grabber, I got you. You want to question what's going on, and this is.
But also, this is where Aronian feels most comfortable. When he gets this type of crazy positions, imbalanced positions, and he knows how to play them.
Right.
He has looked at them before.
Right.
This is his bread and butter, to be honest. And I have a feeling
Well-
MVL is in big trouble in this game.
Well, I just wanted to say, since the move d4 landed on the board, that was probably 20 minutes ago.
That is true.
He's taking quite some time, Jennifer. Is MVL on this? And quite frankly, doesn't have too much of a choice. It's either knight d4 or cd4. And again, knight d4 has been played in the past. I would probably, if I'm seeing this position for the first time, take with the pawn. And how would this line go again?
Bishop takes e6.
That's the...
Bishop takes e6, bishop takes e6.
Knight takes d4.
Knight takes d4.
And we've seen, apparently this is theory, yes?
Yes, it has been played a few times.
Mm-hmm. And you say bishop d7 is the standard move? Preparing knight c6 and maybe e5? And where does it, how does the line continue?
I have a fun line for you, by the way,
please,
earlier.
please.
Okay, can we back up, though? So,
Sure.
okay, after d4, knight d4.
Knight
I was
takes
just
d4.
playing around on the other monitor.
Sure.
Knight d4, and then we were doing bishop f4, knight c6, right?
Yes, we were.
Okay,
Bishop, oops, sorry. not
Bishop f4,
e3.
knight c6.
Yes.
Now, after, let's do knight takes d4.
Knight takes d4?
Yes.
Okay.
And then after, we'll try taking with a knight.
Okay.
Yeah. And now after knight d5.
And you want to come in?
Yeah, and I just like this line, knight e6, because, you know, it's tactics always combine with each other, right?
Right.
And here we have knight c7 check,
Knight c7 check.
with the idea that after knight takes c7, we now have bishop takes f7, snagging the queen.
Oh, yes. And the king has been forced to give up the protection of the queen.
This is kind of a combination of two different tactics, but really nice. And the reason it didn't work in the other line, by the way, was because you had a knight on c6, right? So that defended the queen on
Right.
d8. That's how I thought of it. I was like, that would be so cool if we could do that.
So you eliminated the knight on f3 and the knight on c6 to make knight c7
Exactly,
check work.
exactly.
Nice. Nice line.
Of course, maybe you could take with the pawn on d4 instead, as you were not. Instead, here you could do c takes d4.
Sorry, here.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this also looks good. I mean.
Well, wait a minute. This is a potential tempo, unless you have some way of
Yeah.
you going like, I don't know, queen b3,
Queen h5 or queen b3.
queen b3,
Yeah.
kind of business. I don't know. This is it's new. It's new for me too. This
But it's a
move
lot
d4.
for Maxime to look at, because the point is
Maxime finally
He did
after
take
some-
with the pawn.
the pawn.
He did
Okay.
take with the pawn. Okay.
Which
That-
seems like
was-
a much more practical approach.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
Keeping e6 and c7 squares at least protected, even if it looks like a little bit of an overworked knight. Like just tossing it out there to d4 when it's performing such key defensive functions looks really scary.
Right.
Like you better have it analyzed backwards and forwards.
Exactly. And no, MVL is certainly aware that when Levon played the move d4, this is home cooking.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't want to fall for anything. But now,
Bishop e6 is one option. There is also knight d5.
but that
I'm
was
actually
the thing.
curious what he's going to do.
No, bishop takes e6. You had the same revulsion that I had. Was like, you don't really want to, give up those two bishops. You want to follow it up with knight d5.
Yeah.
Okay, so knight c6. How would the line go, Christian?
Well, this I don't think has been played yet, so this might be Aronian's novelty.
Yeah.
I would assume h4 is definitely a try.
Yeah.
I
Well,
would like to put the bishop on f4, but unfortunately I cannot do that. What about b4 though? I want to put the bishop on b2. If I cannot go to f4, I would like to go on the long diagonal.
this is actually an idea. Didn't we have this?
I think we had a very similar position.
Or maybe it
Maybe
was
this
the same.
exact
I
position.
went a6, bishop b2. I'm just wondering.
He took on e6.
Oh, he took on e6.
He took on e6.
Gosh, I thought he was going to make a sacrifice.
This was played before, bishop to c4, and in this position, white played the move king to e1. Maybe he will go to g1.
Bishop
That could
c4
potentially
check.
be his novelty. I'm trying to understand where he has that interesting idea.
Well, bishop c4 check looks like it's going to end up giving the tempo right back because queen a4
Queen
check.
a4 is a problem, yeah.
And
then
he took
into
with a
d4
knight.
with the knight, yes.
So they're playing. Bishop c4 check looks wrong. I would assume bishop d7's automatic, but
That is the stem game, the one between Karpeshov and Shomoev. And Shomoyev did play bishop c4. By the way, Shomoyev
Okay.
is a very strong theoretician. He's
Okay.
not well known. He's around 2570, 2600 at times, but he's a very, very good theoretician. So he probably knew what he's doing. And in this position,
After king-
Karpeshov played the move king to e1, queen to d7, bishop to e3, queen to d7, of course, aimed at taking this check away from white.
Yes.
Oops, no, not queen d2, bishop e3, e5, knight b3, and I don't think this is such a big problem for black. I have the bishop here, I'm going to exchange the queens,
Yeah.
and I don't think I'm going to have huge problems in the endgame. I would actually prefer black in this position. But after bishop to c4, I'm expecting maybe this move, king to g1. And we're going to have to wait. Oh, this has been played. This has been played still. Knight to c6, knight takes c6. We're still going to get this endgame. You still have the bishop on f8 to develop, so you still need a couple of moves. I do have the rook coming to c1, so potentially bishop to e3 or bishop to f4. Bishop to e3 looks very, very sensible, just with the idea of playing b3, rook to c1, and pressure the pawn on c6. You still have to find a way to arrange your pieces. Potentially at some point you will have to give up one of the pawns and just make use of your bishop pair to try to create some sort of counterplay. But those things will have to be found at the board from Maxime, and that's not an easy task.
I was about to say, I liked your previous game where the king came to e1 and you went queen d7. I thought that was a nifty way to sidestep the queen a4 check threat without playing knight c6. So after bishop c4 check, imagine you're right that Levon had prepared a novelty king g1, Cristian, not king e1.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, if you could just, but right. And now, queen d7, I used to play the Queen's Gambit accepted and look forward to these types of positions of 4 versus 4, 2 versus 2. And, well, you got the two bishops. Why is black unhappy about this?
Well, the bishop on c4 is still a little bit
awkward,
unstable,
right?
so maybe I can just try to
B3.
him away?
Okay.
Now, where are you going to go? Are you
Say
going to go to
A6.
a6?
Yeah,
A6.
let's say A6.
Makes a lot of sense.
I'm still, I want to go E5 ASAP, of course.
Let's say bishop to e3.
E5, yeah, sorry.
Or maybe, now that I went b3, well, what about this move?
So you want knight F5 business, yeah?
Yes.
Ah,
And I'm trying to exchange the dark sword bishop.
understood.
If I manage to do that, I think I'm going to have quite a nice position, because this bishop is a little bit out of
yeah?
game. Yeah.
Okay,
If you go E5,
very
then
intriguing.
bishop takes f8. This might become problematic, because you don't have this move, c takes d4, because bishop takes g7.
Right.
I'm going to take the pawn on d4 as
Exactly.
well, and you're going to have huge problems.
Exactly. And also, if I recapture on F8, then you've got knight F5.
Then you have a lot of weaknesses.
Yeah, then I've got knight knight F5 is a
Yes,
wonderful.
knight f5, attacking the pawn on
Yeah.
g7, coming on d6. Knight to d5 is coming on the board. This is not looking good.
That looks like some good home prep.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. All right, going back, just taking a peek at the All-American matchup, Jennifer, after king c1, we had more trades.
That's right. Rook takes e1, rook takes e1, king f8 on the board.
Okay, so the idea there is black wants to cover the business squares of e8 and e7 now that the white has the control of the open file. So king f8, so white to play. Well, I've been anxious to play the move knight e5 for some time. Are you going to use Cristian's recipe of knight g4 to try to trade and make a draw?
Could be an idea, but I don't know if... Can you take on h7? Probably not. All right, let's try
We
knight
can also
g4.
just play like bishop e6 and rook e8, right?
Well, that was kind of what I was hoping
Yeah.
for. Not that I think it's that much, but at least in this case, okay, I have gained a little space on the king side.
Yeah, something to chew on.
A little bit. Maybe on a
So-
good day, king d2, I'll press.
So if we start with the other idea to see if...
Knight g4, but
Yeah.
Cristian, you immediately spotted a potential issue. You said, Could I take on h7?
Right, because h5 is coming
That's
fast.
just because I know you, Yasser. That's just me.
You knew you'd like this.
I mean, I've got membership, into the, pawn
Okay, so
grabbers.
g6, what
Yeah.
happened?
H5.
H5.
h5. Okay, wait a second. Should we take on e5? Yeah, take on e5.
Absolutely. Let's take on e5. Let's do it.
I will take with the rook.
The rook.
Yes,
okay,
because
and
I have,
now,
after king g7, I take on g6, and then I have rook
and then
e7.
you have rook e7 check. Yes, this is bad.
Sweet.
No, not
Now
happening. This is not good. That
my,
pawn lives.
my pawn grabbing credentials.
The pawn lives to tell the tale.
Boy, I must say, Christian's spidey sense was tingling the moment.
He wants that pawn.
The moment he saw who was across the board.
Let's try to
See
find
that pawn on
something
h4?
better.
It made it all possible. Yes.
Right, exactly.
Let's try to find something better. Even after knight g4, bishop takes h7, I don't think it's that bad. There has to be a way to trap your bishop, or at least try to get the pawn back.
Right.
The one on f2 is hanging as well. Of course, I cannot take on f2 yet, because after rook to f1, maybe we could see that on your board.
Absolutely.
I cannot take on f2 because after rook f1, the pawn on f7 is going to hang as well, and that's actually a big problem.
Yeah, no,
big problem.
That's a terrible trade for you, for black, because white's rook would be crashing through in that case.
He played a move h6, by the way. He's
He's
sidestepping all these ideas,
right.
pawn grabbing and Yasserisms.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. From the start, he started with h6. No, I'm saying king f8. Did he play knight e5?
No, he played king d2. He actually played king d2, yes.
Okay. And only now came the move
H6.
h6. Okay.
I don't think Naka is actually trying to win this one. I think he's just trying to make it all the way to the 30th move and just offer the draw.
Wait, no, they have to repeat.
They have to repeat.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So he has to look for some kind of natural repetition.
But why isn't white just nicely better here? I mean, from
Knight g4 again?
Yeah, but from the amateur point of view, amateur players have been told for eternity that they don't, in a bishop's ending, you don't want to have a light squared bishop where all your pawns are on light squares.
And he did play the move knight d5.
Yeah. So after, for example, knight takes, bishop takes, white is supposed to have the better piece, right? The better bishop.
But this is not enough.
Why?
I mean, I'm going to go rook to e8 the next move. I think we're going to exchange absolutely everything.
And then I'll have a superior king. My king is on d2.
Okay, bishop d7.
Bishop
Actually, let's
to
go bishop e6.
Bishop to e6.
Sure.
Okay, so let's say b4.
In fact, I retreat that. Bishop to h5.
Bishop to
I want
h5.
to go to g6, actually. I will give you a better structure, if that's what you want.
I want more than that. I want everything.
I'm giving you everything. I'm trying to give you everything.
Well, you're kind. I need a bit more. I mean, it's Christmas is coming, and okay. So you're saying that you're willing to give me the double pawns, and
I'm just saying I see nothing.
You think you'll be able to hold this pretty easily?
Yes.
On a good day, if I could get my king to e5, I'd probably have to start like this, though, right?
Yes, but also maybe I can just try to go king to f7 now.
Okay.
Then king to f6 and ask you a question whether you're going to go g5 or not.
Okay. Well, I mean, I was raised on Akiba Rubinstein.
I do agree you have a slight edge. I do agree you have a slight edge.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be enough.
Okay. So Akiba Rubinstein was one of these great grandmasters who played rook endings amazingly well. Like he was a world-class rook ending player. And it was almost a kind of a magical, mystical thing that he did in rook endings, that he got some little edge, and then, like, for example, white's rook is really well placed, and white will play for b3 and c4, and somehow he won these things. You know, like, as the amateur player, we sit there and say, I think Hikaru's whole strategy for this game has been A draw suits me fine. Okay, I'm not unhappy with a draw, says Hikaru to himself, because I really want to get this guy into a blitz. And this is the schedule, and this is what he's looking forward to. Draw today with an edge, keeping an edge, right? And then racing to the rapid and blitz. Is this a good strategy, Jennifer?
Yeah, I think it's a great strategy for him. But if he gets something, he'll try to do. He has to play a game, and White is better. So if he gets something, he will go for it. But he's not. It's kind of similar to the game that Magnus played.
Exactly.
Maybe
not the rapid is the big deal, but maybe the blitz is where, because there's 4 blitz games in this matchup.
That's right. The blitz is where he's really hoping that he has an edge, and even if it's a small edge.
Hey, that's where his strength lies. Let's go there.
And it's a long day tomorrow, Yaz. Even though in terms of the raw amount of time, it'll be similar to the classical games in terms of the energy expended. It's going to be a way more hectic and draining day for the players.
Exactly.
So I think the idea to just kind of relax today, see if he gets anything. If not, try to sign the score sheets and rest up for tomorrow. I think that's his strat.
Yeah. And what's going on?
Also, psychologically, it feels like this might actually not be what Fabiano wanted. He did play the Petrov, so it's his fault that he has to defend these type of positions. But maybe he wanted Hikaru to take some chances and try to risk a little bit. And then he could counter and maybe even score a full point.
Right.
But it seems like Hikaru's strategy is just playing to his strengths at this point.
And we have seen them move knight g4, by the way, potentially going into that ending that we were just looking at. Here we had tried knight takes g4, bishop takes g4. I was a little bit unsure about your move there, bishop h5. I think that, allowing your bishop, your pawns to get doubled was helping White a bit. But I like your previous suggestion of bishop d7. I was going to go b4. Again, I think that White's for choice. I don't know how big it is. I think it's actually not that big a deal. I'm just saying that for amateur players, they've been taught that this pawn structure and bishop ending is superior for White.
This can become scary, that's for sure.
Well, it's just those little nagging things. The king is a little bit better, the rook is better, the bishop is better.
And I think that's the main problem. The fact that the black king, cannot go to d6. If he would be able to get to d6, centralize himself.
In a magical way, yeah.
It would be great.
Easy.
That would be great.
That will be a draw, no question. I think that's right. So, but
what if after
f3?
What if after f3 I try to go bishop to e6 with that specific idea of going king e7, king d6,
and just hightailing quickly your king to the d6 square? Okay, so I need, in a sense, to open up the position a little bit somehow. So I'll play b3 with the intention of c4.
I can just imagine, I can't help but I'm thinking of Maurice Ashley now and what he would be saying about this game.
Boring, put it to rest, come back tomorrow. What else would he say?
Well, Maurice, by the way, he is going to be back for the finals.
Sure.
I think he wouldn't be surprised, because I think that it's not that shocking that this opening occurred, right?
The Petrov.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that shocking that Nakamura went in this route, but as you continue to analyze, you'd be like, come on, it's a draw.
It's a draw. Yes. It's a draw. It's a draw. Okay, and what about game 2, Cristian?
That one is still in the realms of theoretical knowledge for Aronian, which is quite obvious because he's just blitzing every single move. But in this position, once again, Vachier took the offensive and played the move knight to c6. He wants to get his pieces out as soon as possible. He doesn't want to lose time with bishop c4, then defend that bishop, then move that bishop around. No, I want to get my pieces out. Knight to c6, knight takes c6 at all costs. Even in this position, after knight takes c6, you're going to cripple my structure after knight takes c6, f takes c6, but I'm going to be able to get this bishop out on the long diagonal via g6, bishop to g7, and actually make use of my superior light piece. So after knight takes c6, queen takes d1, which I'm not really sure whether it has been played or not, but I think it has. Knight takes d1, f takes c6. This is the position we currently have on the board. And black has one weakness, and that is his pawn, his double pawns. If he manages to get his bishop on the long diagonal, g6, bishop g7, king to f7, and centralize the rooks, I think his position is going to be more or less okay. White needs to find a way to create another weakness. But let's go...
I was about to say, Hikaru and Fabi have just been blitzing out their moves like no problem.
Right.
There was after knight g4, there was a quick trade on g4. Did Hikaru, knight takes g4, bishop takes g4, c2, c3, and what you had said, you want to put as black, you wanted to bring the king to the d6 square, Cristian. So to do that, you have to cross the e-file. The rook trade was offered, and I believe rooks were captured.
Rook e8,
King takes
e8,
e8.
king to e3.
And now we're in this king e3, and has another move been played, Jennifer?
No, that is the position.
No,
we currently
and remember that they do have to actually repeat moves to get a draw. So it's not like they can just make it to move 30. So we'll have to find some kind of natural or unnatural repetition in order for this to be drawn. But are you still feeling like Nakamura has anything because of this king coming in so quickly?
No, I was a little bit taken. Well, actually, the move c2, c3 was an indication to me right here that Hikaru is not ambitious. In fact, c2, c3 is not an ambitious move. I thought f2, if you have ambition, you're going to play b2, b3, followed by c4 to open up the position.
That's one way. Another way would be potentially to bring the rook via the third rank. So you still don't have to play the move c3. You can go rook to e3, bring the bishop out, and then rook to b3. Try to create some more weaknesses.
Right. Okay. So, but the move c2, c3, to my taste, was a kind of indication that Hikaru really was not playing for an edge. Now, after this move, king e3, of course, on a good day, he would like to play king f4, try to secure his king in the center. And I was just thinking, well, maybe just the move g5 to completely shut down that idea.
That's one way, absolutely.
You know,
that
just
is absolutely one way.
If you put your pawn on f6 and, as you say, Cristian, put your king on d6, you've got nothing to fear.
And I think this is what Fabiano is contemplating right now. He can also just play the move king to e7, and then after king to f4, I'm going to retreat my bishop, go bishop to e6, and then f6 and g5. It's the same plan.
But is that so clear? Like, for example, let's say I go here.
Okay, f6.
f6, let's say I take h5.
He did play the move g5.
Did Fabi, because on a good day, if white ever gets his king to f5, it might be a little tricky.
Absolutely. I think I have equality with the move f5,
Right.
king f6, king e6, but
here.
I understand what you're saying, for sure.
I remember a game, it was between, actually, number one and number one in the world, Magnus Carlsen versus Hui Fan. It was a king and pawn endgame from a Tata Steel where he tricked her. Did Magnus, but in this case it was on the queen side, and he snuck his king in in this case it would be the g6 square, and Magnus has won against the number one women's player in the world. But I thought g5 shut it down, and by the way, he did play g5, right?
Yeah.
He did. They exchanged on g5.
G5 was played,
And now Hikaru is trying to find the repetition.
Nice. Nice. Okay, so this game is definitely headed the way of the draw. Take us back.
And, you know, it's funny because I mentioned Maurice earlier. He loves the word snooze fest.
Snooze fest.
Yes. Also, I think that, you know, over the years we've been wrong so many times about games that we're going to...
Speak for yourself. What do you mean we? Go on, go on.
Yeah, okay, no. Maurice and I have been wrong. You've always been
Oh,
right.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Very, very, very.
We've been wrong sometimes.
I like the truth. The truth will set you free, Jennifer. Go on, please.
We've been wrong sometimes about games that we thought were totally winning
Right.
or totally drawn.
Yeah.
But somehow this one, I think the money is good.
Yeah.
The money's going in good.
Yeah. I think so. I think so.
This game is not going to
Not
be
the snooze fest.
This one is going to end in 10 to 15 minutes at the most, I want to say.
Okay, and Levon, back to Levon and MVL for a
Nothing
second.
has happened in that one, and we will have to just gather our forces and try to understand what's happening in this position, try to analyze this endgame deeply, because to be honest, nothing has happened. I understand this move bishop to c2. It has a clear idea behind it, and that is not to allow the move g6, or at least make it more difficult to comply with. Because after bishop to c3, you're going to have some difficulties. You cannot go bishop g7, of course, that's going to be lost. You have to go bishop rook to g8. But after bishop to g7, when we're going to exchange those bishops, you're no longer going to have the strong beast on the long diagonal. And also your rook on g7 is not looking very pretty. You're going to have to spend some time to get it back into the game. So obviously bishop to d2 has some clear ideas. And maybe after bishop to c3, black just simply has to go with a move e5 and try to get the king to e6. With the king to e6, then of course bishop to g7 is once again available. Maybe even e6 and try to get the bishop out this way. The problem with e6, this pawn on e5 is not going to be easily defended by the king. So that's going to be a weakness forever. On the other side, with the pawn on e6, you're controlling a lot of the central squares, especially this important d5 square, because the knight cannot land on d5. You cannot allow the knight to land on d5. Right. If that happens, that knight is just going to control so many squares, he's going to have so many threats at his disposal, and white is just going to be clearly better. We're going to have to wait and see what MVL comes up with, but I think he's a good defender, and I think he's going to be able to hold this one.
Well, good defender is one thing. I mean, but he's definitely being forced.
He's going to suffer
on the defensive, and I'm a big structure guy. I like what Levon has done, and we'll just see. The players are trying to figure out how to make a repetition, and I think. Yeah,
I'm not sure if
I think they
aware.
found one. Oh,
I'm not sure if they're aware. They think after 30 moves they can claim a draw.
They need
maybe
an arbiter.
There's another rule that if it's totally drawn. So maybe they.
No, this is the repetition. They're so creative. Check it out. I mean, these grandmasters are amazing. Look what they came up with. Bishop d7, bishop c2.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, when you both want to make a repetition, you
It's
can't.
magic. It's magic.
Shoot a tango.
So there you go. Okay, so instantly, the two classical games, Hikaru wanted to avoid this. Yesterday, Alejandro was telling us that Fabiano was going to win the match because he was going to score in the classic. Set this up for us.
And I did say that's why I gave Hikaru the odds, because there's only two classical games, and he only needs to defend one
with the black pieces, which he did in game one.
Which he did, and after that it becomes so much easier for him, because with the white pieces he can neutralize the Petrov. Well, anybody can. Well, I don't want to say anybody, but you know, it's not very difficult to get the draw against the Petrov. Now, that's why I was expecting potentially from Fabiano one c5 and a Sicilian. I think that would have been a better strategy. But obviously he has he's very confident in his rapid skills. He's still tied in the Grand Chess Tour with Hikaru in the rapid. Unfortunately for him, in the blitz, he's kind of overwhelmed. So he's going to have to do really well in rapid. He has some experience coming from the World Championship match. We did do a lot of training with rapid games and so on. So I don't think he feels inferior to Nakamura in that time control. When it goes to blitz, though,
I think Fabi's a slight favorite.
It's going to be very difficult.
I'm giving Fabi a slight edge in the rapid, and obviously Hikaru an edge in the blitz.
Well, wait a minute. I'm not giving Hikaru an edge in the blitz. I'm giving him an enormous edge in the blitz. Sorry. I mean, no, Hikaru really is a beast. And, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, only Magnus and MBL really can hang with Hikaru and fight in the chess. Recently, on chess.com, they had the Blitz Championship, and the finals was between Wesley and Hikaru. And I think Wesley is a magnificent Blitz player, but Hikaru handled him very well.
He dominated. He dominated that tournament.
Did Hikaru?
All throughout the tournament. He dominated against Hui Fan, he dominated against MVL, and he dominated against Wesley So in the finals. And they separated when it became the bullet section, the 1 minute section. And he shows how good it is. But let's go to London because Alejandro has Naka.
All right.
Well, thank you guys. Here I am with a man with a plan, Hikaru Nakamura. What did you think coming into the game?
Yeah, I mean, this is not my intention. I wanted to play something interesting. I knew Fabiano would probably play the Petrov after the match against Magnus. So I just played this pretty topical line. And Fabiano deviated with C6. He's obviously played this before, but in the match he played knight F6, as we know, the match and that video. But anyway, yeah, I just was hoping maybe I could get something, but Fabiano played pretty much all the best moves. This rook E8 and bishop C5 really doesn't offer white much. And at this point it's already just very equal. There's not much that white can do. So I just played bishop d4, kind of hoping maybe Fabiano wouldn't know to play knight e4, but I mean, whether he knew this from prep or even not, it's not a hard move to find, and yeah, it just petered out into a draw. So not very exciting.
Now, you were saying before the matches started, even before the Classical started, you feel very confident about your Rapid and Blitz, and the rating seems to indicate that you do very well in those systems. Do you feel just satisfied with the 2 draws on Classical?
I mean, I'm satisfied with yesterday because I was under pressure and I held. I would have liked to have gotten something more today, but I mean, Fabiano's coming off a match where he had a lot of time to prepare, so you're not really expecting to get much out of the opening, certainly. And I mean, obviously in Rapid things are a little bit different, and I like my chances, but we'll see how it goes.
Now, I remember that Wesley So mentioned in the Singfield Cup when Maurice asked him, well, why didn't you try harder against the Petrov? And he said, what am I supposed to do? Do you feel like you're hitting a little bit of a wall here as well?
Well, I mean, it was the Petrov originally, I think, that Kramnik was playing. Then he came up with the Berlin. Everyone switched to that. Now Fabiano has basically proven that the Petrov, again, is completely fine. So, yeah, it's a very solid opening, like many different things in E4, E5. So, yeah, what to do?
Well, thank you, Hikaru. We'll see much more action tomorrow for sure. So we have 2 Rapids and 4 Blitz. And good luck.
Thank you, Alejandro. Thank you, Hikaru, for sharing your thoughts. Easy day at the office for Fabi with the black side, Jennifer?
That's right. Well, Fabi, I mean, can't be, I don't know. I mean, I think that he maybe wanted a rich game because then he'd have the chance to become the #1 player in the world.
Sure.
And I
But,
haven't crunched the
just
numbers.
Shut it down.
I haven't crunched the numbers, but will he still have that chance? Because remember,
He definitely has a chance.
he still has a chance if he
definitely
wins.
has a chance. Yeah.
But
He's going to
only-
get another match.
Well,
he
yeah,
can,
in
he
his
can
next
lose this
match.
match, but he's going to get another match.
Yeah, but then, for instance, if he draws the first game and wins the next one, it might
then
be
it's a
just
bit more
even.
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
so
might have gained 1 or 2, well, probably 2
I
in
mean,
that case.
Alejandro will have to ask him. But I
Right.
actually think that Fabi would have. Well, he could have played the Sicilian, but there are ways to neutralize the Sicilian and play like a less. It's not like he plays
Sure.
the Sicilian and it's going to be an open
I
Sicilian.
think he actually
And an
needs to win
instant,
both
attacking,
games. He needs to win both games.
That's what. Yeah,
in
that's
the
what.
next
That's what I
match.
thought. Or
Just-
maybe the first game would work as well to get him temporarily over it.
On the
Maybe it
live
depends.
rating list. And then if he makes a draw, I think he goes back to #2.
But we do have Alejandro to answer some of these questions. What did Fabi want today? Did he get it? Alejo is with Fabi.
Thank you, Jen. And here I am with Fabiano Caruana. Fabi, what did you want from the game coming in today?
I would have hoped for something a little less dry.
Well, in that case, why didn't you play the Sicilian?
Well, it's not really my job to create excitement with black, is it? I mean, with white, I try, of course. Yesterday was a game where both of us had chances. Okay, it was a very sharp game. But I mean, you can play the Sicilian, you can play anything, and white can steer the game towards equality with the slightest bit of caution. So, also in this line, I mean, it's opposite side castling. It's pretty much a dragon.
Well,
I
yes.
mean,
This is the feeling that we all got from the game.
If we both start attacking, it gets really exciting, and white can go for the attack here. So,
Tell us a little bit more about which lines in this position might get a little bit sharper than what the game actually showed us.
well, I mean, okay, white can play like bishop d3 instead of king b1. This gets very sharp usually.
In this position, instead of king b1, bishop d3 immediately?
Yeah, or h5 or something like that.
H5 a possibility.
And also after bishop c5, there's like bishop g5, which is pretty sharp, because I have to play f6, and then we get some... And you can start to imagine how this can get exciting.
Yeah, we use a lot of imagination.
Well, I mean, you can start to see maybe sacrifices on h7 or things like that happening.
Right.
So yeah, it can get interesting. Of course, it's dangerous for both sides when, because I mean, black takes some very clear tactical risk, but also white has some strategic risk because black has a center. And the game I think we just followed, I think Karek and Giri, this queen f6, and I don't remember how that game went, but it was very similar.
Queen f6 here, right?
I think it was the game. I might be mistaken, but it was something like this from a rapid tournament, Leuven or Paris.
Okay.
And yeah, there's not a whole lot going on.
It seems like at that point it was a little bit not so good. Perhaps we can get your impressions on the other game that's still going on here between Levon Aronian and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. It seemed like Maxime was very surprised by this move, d4. I don't know if you're familiar with the variation. Can you tell us a little bit about what your thought process would be, not really knowing d4 and seeing it over the board?
I mean, the problem is I know the move. So once you have some knowledge of the position, it's hard to know how you would play if you didn't know anything about it. But okay, the way he played is safe in the sense that you know you're not going to get blown off the board, but you're also accepting a slightly worse ending.
Right.
I guess bishop c4 instead of knight c6 is a move. Or
yeah, we're looking at, Cristian was mentioning the bishop c4 has been played before with two possibilities, king e1, which has been played before in a grandmaster game, and king g1, that would be a novelty.
King g1 looks more natural because I'd like to get my king to h2.
Right.
Or to g2, g3 king g2.
g3 king g2, h3 king
Well,
h2.
on e1, I guess I'm trying to get it to f2 eventually, with f3 king f2. But yeah, g1 kind of feels more natural.
Wow. Well, Fabi, 2 draws here in the classical chess. You feel confident going into tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually kind of happy that I didn't have to suffer today. I was hoping for more excitement, more content, but it's still, I mean, you know, I could have also been put under a lot of pressure, so it's still a good result.
Well, thank you, Fabiano, and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
And guys, we go back to the studio.
I was
you,
right,
Alejandro.
yes. He wanted more. He wanted
wanted
more
more.
action. By the way, I did get a message from Maurice Ashley, so instead of speculating on what Maurice would say about this game, he said Snooze Fest would be giving that game credit. Hypnotists could use the game to put folks to sleep.
Wow, channeling from thousands of miles away. Master Maurice Ashley.
And then he mentioned classical chess at the Super GM level. Is it in crisis? Well, I'm sure we will be hearing more of Maurice's thoughts on that because he's going to be joining us for the finals.
Over to you, Cristian. Is classical chess in crisis?
No, I don't think so. I actually love the match, the World Championship match system right now. Maybe we could eliminate the rapid tie breaks. I don't agree with that. What my idea was is that we play 12 games or 16. Maybe we could make it a little bit longer and go to 16. And after that, if it's tied, then we go to mini matches. Still classical. We keep it classical all the time. We go into mini matches, 2-game mini match. If no player wins that mini match, then we go into sudden death. And whoever wins the next game is going to win the World Championship match. And we go until one of them falls.
Golden goal, so to speak.
That is my idea. That's going to eliminate the rapid tie breaks. There's not going to be any sort of debate in terms of who's the best classical player and who's the best rapid player, because we have World Championships for rapid and blitz as well. So I think that's going to be a good change. But of course, there's so many ideas floating out there. We're going to have to wait and see what the FIDE is going to come up with for the next cycle.
Thank you, Cristian. Let's go to Alejandro and just get his thoughts on Alejandro. Is classical chess in a crisis?
Is classical chess in a crisis? Well,
Nobody can win.
I don't think so at all.
No. Okay.
Well, it's difficult because we've seen a lot of draws recently, but I think we've also seen a lot of excitement. We've had a little bit of bad luck in the sense that we don't have the decisive results, and that seems to capture a lot of attention. But if you see the games themselves, they've been incredibly interesting. Okay, perhaps the game today, not so much, But the games that we had yesterday were really, really cool. The games that we had during the World Championship were awesome. We've had the Singfield Cup, which produced a lot of decisive games. It produced some masterpieces. I mean, I remember very specifically games like, for example, Levon Aronian against Alexander Grischuk. That was such an exciting game. I think that classical chess is far, far from that. Even I, that I'm a strong advocate for faster time controls, I think that there's always going to be a place for classical chess. And I don't think it should give way to different time controls just because it's, quote, dead. I think there's so much to explore. And I agree with most grandmasters here, I think, that it is very far from being completely explored. We have so many new ideas. We have different engines breathing new life to so many different openings. And it seems like there's a couple of barriers here and there. We've seen a lot of drawn Berlins. We've seen a lot of drawn Petrovs. But check out this game, for example, MVL against Aronian. How interesting can it get? How many problems you can pose a player of this caliber even early in the opening? And I wanted to take a look at what happened and what transpired in this game quite quickly. We had this English variation that has been seen by Levon quite often. And it's interesting that even in a position like this, in the sense that it's been analyzed so many times, we have engines that analyze these positions, we have seconds that look at them, you still can surprise somebody of the strength of Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, even with very basic ideas, things that come from the old Russian school of chess. I was talking to Rustom Qasimjanov, and he was mentioning a famous book by Zaitsev called The Breakthrough Point, how in positions in which you target as a player a specific square, just so that the opponent cannot make a breakthrough. If that breakthrough is achieved, your position sometimes collapses. And you can see that Black has sacrificed quite a bit of development in order to gain control over the square d4. Yes, he's also managed to avoid kingside castling, but the main point is that d4 cannot be achieved. And you see it on the board, and there's a couple of things that go through your mind. First of all, knowing that if d4 is achieved for free, your position might just collapse. Second, that why haven't I looked at this position? It seems like such a natural move to consider. It seems like a little bit of a gaffe here by Maxime not to have considered the move d4. You mentioned, Fabiano mentioned that he had already looked at this move, so it has been known in the grandmaster circles. And after c4, bishop e6, knight d4, I think Maxime really shows his strength here. Because bishop c4 check, which is a very natural move to save the bishop, gain a tempo, force the king to move, is something that Aronian has obviously considered. And it's very sharp. It brings the bishop to a position where queen on a4 might be a danger. And instead he goes for the practical try. He accepts a worse position, but he is able to basically neutralize White's position. And I really like the approach that he has. We'll see how this game continues. I think it's going to be a long game in which Aronian is going to be really pressing. But for now, let's go to a little feature as we ask the players what they thought of this tournament's format.
Do you believe that tournaments should incorporate different speeds, or Blitz, Rapid, and Classical should be kept separate?
I think at the moment you're seeing more Blitz and Rapid events happening, so I think I would like to see a blended mix of all three, because I think for spectators it's also more interesting as well. So I think seeing all three is great. I think certainly for things like the World Championship match, it should still remain only classical, but for these sorts of events, I think seeing a bit of everything just to see what works makes a lot of sense.
But I don't mind this format where we mix time controls and you have to show good play in all time controls to have a good result. I mean, I think it's quite, it's a bit different, but it's pretty nice to try something different.
I mean, we already have some sort of combinations with Rapid and Blitz events. Even if it's two separate events, it happens at the same time. Here, of course, it's a new experience to have a match in different formats. I think it's fine. I think players are able to adapt to these challenges.
I think having different time controls is kind of fun, not only for the players but also for the spectators. You kind of get the spectators to feel the difference. They will understand what they like better.
Is it possible to be in bad form in Blitz chess while at the same time being in good form in classical chess, and vice versa?
Yeah. Very often you'll see that players who, let's say, play a preliminary Blitz event and do badly they go on to play very well in the classical event and vice versa. And I've seen this many times. I've had like very bad blitz events and then gone on to win a tournament. And sometimes I've had good blitz events and then performed miserably in classical chess. Sometimes form carries over, but usually it seems like the separate time controls are just, and you can play well in one and badly in the other, and there is no correlation.
Yeah, it happens all the time. I remember one time where I had a pretty big slump in classical, and I was winning every blitz tournament I was playing in, so yeah, I guess it's possible.
I think so, because when you play blitz, then if you had a bad sleep, then probably you will not do so well. While in classical or rapid, you have more time to recover. You can start slowly and then be in a normal state by the middle of the game.
Oh, it's very easy. I think for most people that is the case generally. I think when you look at the rapid and blitz events in the Grand Chess Tour, Paris, as well as St. Louis, you saw some people play really well in the rapid and blitz and really badly in the classical, and vice versa. So I think it's very easy just because the skills required in blitz especially, you just sort of, it's more intuition and making practical decisions, whereas in classical it's much more about pure calculation. So I think it's definitely possible to be in bad form in one or the other. I think if you're in bad form in all three, like Sergey was in particular, then there's just something wrong. But otherwise, I think it's quite natural to be playing well in one and not well in the other.
Hello and welcome back to our coverage of the London Chess Class, also the Grand Chess Tour Finals, where we are going to turn these 4 players into one champion. Yes.
Exactly. The transformation will be completed in, 5 days? As we're in our second classical chess game.
The other 3 will still be champions, though.
Yes. But only one will be the Grand Chess Tour champion. And we have a game where we think Levon Aronian is really enjoying a long-term pull. And MVL has just captured bishops, traded bishops, pardon me. Bishop takes e3, king takes e3 will be on the board. And during the break, I was just talking with you, Cristian, there a bit about this last decision of the players. After bishop b6, rook d1. Could you tell me why... Oops, I better turn off my automatic update. I apologize for that. Just a second.
That just shows that we do have a couple more moves. That
King
Yes.
e7 was played.
King
King
e7.
e7. So just here, philosophically, why didn't Levon capture on b6? I mean, after all, you're doubling up a second. Black has these long-term...
But at the same time, you're giving me as black a target, and that is the a2 pawn. Of course,
Okay.
you're going to be able to put it on a3, but then I could potentially advance with the pawn b5, b4, try to hook that pawn on a3, and potentially create some sort of counterplay. That's all I need. That's all I want. I just want to feel the taste of counterplay. It doesn't matter if I'm getting another pawn weakness. I just want to feel that I have to play for something. If you don't take on b6, if you don't open up the rook on the a file, I, as white, don't have a single target for your pieces. So he's playing the move rook to d1. He's going to put the knight on d3. Bishop takes e3 has been played. King takes e3, king e7. And I think white's play is just so much easier in this position. I'm going to go knight d3, b4, b5, displace the knight from c6, because that's going to happen. Displacing knight from c6 is going to happen at some point, because you cannot move the b7 pawn. That's extremely important. You cannot go b5, you cannot go b6, because the knight on c6 is going to be destabilized at that point. So I think at some point white is just simply going to be a pawn up. And you can see it on the clock. You can see the suffering of Maxime Vachier-Lagrave on the clock. Levon Aronian has 1 hour and 36 minutes. An hour difference. And
That's
MVL
a
has
big
only
time.
36 minutes left.
That's a big time difference.
He spent 3 minutes since the beginning of the game, Aronian.
Wow.
That's incredible. And then MVL spent 1 hour and 4 minutes.
Well, the good news is that means it's less time for him to suffer. That said, guys, give us your odds. What do you think the chances are here that Lev is going to win this game? I know you think there's a 99% chance of
Suffering?
Suffering, yes, that was the word I was looking for.
MVL, yeah, absolutely.
Suffering, 99% chance of strong, heavy suffering.
Long term,
But
yeah.
what are the chances of an actual point being scored?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if it's 50-50, meaning 50% of the time that white may win, 50% of the time black may lose. I think it's less than that. But
You mean
I
like
just,
more like 30% win, 70% draw with this incredible skill in defense. You know, it's funny that you say that because I feel like when we make those odds and predictions, usually if it's a classical game, it seems like we're overshooting the chances of a win.
Exactly.
And then in the rapid game,
It's like,
like
yeah.
we could sometimes be undershooting. Like for instance, that in that game between Maggie and Fabi, in which we thought that would be a draw, but instead Magnus won that first game of the rapid.
Exactly.
So it's really
And I'm
interesting.
sure it would have been a draw if it had been a
Oh yeah,
classic.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of Magnus Carlsen, yesterday I speculated, is he watching? And we did get the answer, and we got it from Chess24's German stream, because actually Magnus Carlsen was on the German stream with Jan Gustafsson. Jan, of course, being one of Magnus's team members, so pulling in a special favor.
Nice to do that. I
Ask
think he
the
did that
question.
during the Olympiad as well.
And he did
Yes.
answer the question. He said, after the match, I was really happy with everything, and I wasn't going to be petty about, presumably, the #1 rating spot. But after the game started yesterday, I was heavily rooting for Hikaru.
Okay. All right. Honesty is the best policy. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, you can't call Magnus dishonest.
No.
He is always really straightforward and honest in his interviews. And here we see a a lovely shot of him at the World Chess Championship.
Right.
I think that was an Eric Rosen shot. And Eric, by the way, also tweeted in just saying that he's baffled that this can be an opening that's playable for Black, referring to Maxime's opening. The same knight has moved 6 times in the first 8 moves.
Right.
So don't show your students.
Exactly. Coaches are like getting all freaked out because one knight moves all over the board. Your take, Cristian, on this ending. Again, we know it's suffering for Black, but the draw percentages in
Odds-wise,
Classic.
I wanted to actually say around 60-40%. 60 to winning and 40% to drawing this one.
60
to
to
40.
winning.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I was like at 50-50 or something,
Yeah.
but you even think
I'm
the
more
advantage
graceful
is
in
that
it.
great.
I think so.
Why so?
Because the rook is coming to c5. That pawn on e5 is just such a huge weakness. And once you lose it, it becomes a very, very difficult position to defend. Whether we're going to exchange the knights. If we don't exchange the knights after I'm taking the pawn on e5, then you're completely losing.
Right.
If we exchange the knights, maybe in the rook endgame you have some chances of survival. Nevertheless, I'm going to push my pawns, push my majority on the king side, and we have pawns on both sides of the board, and that is extremely important. And I think I'm going to slowly create new weaknesses in the position and exploit them.
I'm going
in the
with
long
Yaz
run.
because I've heard that Magnus Carlsen's also chimed in on Trust 24, and he said, if anyone who's good at this stuff, it's Maxime. He loves defending beep positions. So that was Magnus's take.
Okay. Well, there you go. Real honesty. Okay. You're mentioning the e5. That's where it's really coming down to in your mind is this e5 pawn. But at the moment, I can
Also
see
the time advantage.
Yeah,
I
the
think that's
time
extremely
advantage.
important as well.
Yeah. Okay. So Black has issues, no question. So let's say I just make a move. I'll just play Rook d6. Go ahead and show us how White would.
Let's try b4.
Let's try b4.
Immediately b4.
Okay,
yeah.
b4. And normally speaking,
Let's go a4.
Okay, a4.
Continue.
And I'm seeing that you want to play b5, followed by knight takes e5, and that's why I was going to put my king on f6. Okay.
Now I think I'm going to prepare my advance with the move rook c5 first.
Rook.
Even though I'm kind of attracted to the fact that maybe I should go b5 and then rook to c7, potentially.
Oh, sorry, king f6. So if you had played b5 right here, my intention was to take and try to play knight d4.
Yes.
Okay.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so your rook c5 looked more frightening to me, but maybe
No, rook c5. I like rook c5.
rook c5. Okay, so I'll wait. I'm waiting.
b5.
b5. Okay.
Do you have
so
any defensive ideas after I take your pawn?
I do indeed.
Take with the pawn?
Take knight. Yeah. So
I'm not going to take with the rook.
Oh, whoa.
I'm not going to take with the rook.
Oh.
Yes.
Sorry, I tell you what I missed. I saw this position and I had in my mind I had knight b3. I forgot.
Or b6, for that
Or
matter.
b6. So I have to do it right back here. When you had this, I had to play h5, I guess. Oh, well, this you could play f4.
I'm looking at it, yes. I think
Yeah.
f4 is definitely an idea. Also
Okay.
h4 first. Create another weakness. And now I have the idea, the additional idea of playing g3 f4.
Correct. This is beginning to get more and more unpleasant for
No, it's just
Black.
very difficult
Again,
suffering.
this very, very static weakness of the e5 pawn. Okay, Jen, help me out. How can I be more flexible? What do I got to do with Black to hold this position? This is.
Okay, so
Are we
let's
up to date with
let's
the
try
play?
king f6.
Immediately, not. Okay.
We are up to date.
And then you're playing
Well, here I was a little.
rook c5.
Well, the reason why I put my rook on d6, I was a little bit worried
About to see immediate knight c5.
because here there might be some trickies with knight takes e6.
And also with the king on f6, you no longer have the move rook to b8 in this position. Even though that's a very, very passive and generally a bad move, you don't have it because of knight d7.
Yes.
And you're right. So you're saying b6, knight e6, king e6, rook c6.
Sorry, say that again.
You're saying that after king f6, you see immediate knight c5 wins a pawn.
Yeah, this was my fear.
And by the way, we are taking phone calls, so the lines are open, guys.
Okay.
As we will probably be here for a little while watching to see if Aronian can squeeze this endgame into a win. Call us at 314-361-5465. You can also use the hashtag Grand Chess Tour to chime in, as we have a lot of time now to kind of take your questions.
What's that? Carrier rates may apply.
I think that's
like a
for international
number or something. I mean, are we collecting something?
No, we're not. But speaking of which, with the tax year closing out, Yaz, if you do want to donate to the World Chess Hall of Fame or the St. Louis Chess Club,
good point.
Our arms are wide open.
Yes. No donation is too small or too big, as
That's
Rex
right,
Sinfield would say.
indeed. And yes, just go over to worldchesshallofame.org or stlouischessclub.org, both 501c3, so tax deductible.
Yes, educational trusts, according to our tax code.
But here's one of my favorite tweets, actually.
Please.
Yeah, it's from earlier in the day.
Eduardo.
It's from a guy, Eduardo. It's from a guy in Vegas who woke up at 4:25 a.m. in Vegas.
Okay.
So that he could go do his workout and then watch the London Chess Classic. So
sweet.
Christian, that's dedication.
I do agree. I do agree with you. I was considering working out before the show, but then I was like, nope, I'm going to sit in my bed, snooze as much as possible. As Maurice would say, I was getting ready for a snooze fest.
Right.
And, you know, I didn't do anything.
It's all your fault. Christian, if you had worked out, the games would have been explosive, fireworks, attacks.
Yeah.
So take a cue from Eduardo.
Well, I remember.
I like his style, though. I like Eduardo's style.
I remember during the World Championship match in London, talk about a fanboy, Maurice was waking up earlier than he had to because the ladies' World Championship was going on in Khanty in Russia, so the time zone differences.
Right. It was starting at like 6 or 7 here in
yeah, but
6
they
a.m.,
were
I
playing
believe.
the Rapids, remember?
Oh, and it was so
like,
exciting. Yes.
Yeah.
And again, our congrats to Zhu Wenjun, who ended up winning that. And
exactly.
We actually mentioned on the last show of the World Championship some exciting news about the Cairns Cup, which is going to be like a female version of the Sinkfield Cup with 10 of the top players in the world.
And that will be in February.
That's going to be in February, and look out, I think we're going to have more news for you on that towards the end of the show, because that will be our next broadcast.
Wow. Cool. Well, I still remember with great fondness, it was the Kings versus Queens event. This was years ago. Hikaru did very well, as did Ben Feingold, but that was a great match. I really enjoyed it. And
it was wonderful.
I'm sure we'll have, like you say, the women's version of the Sinkfield Cup. It would be great to have the top ladies of the world coming to St. Louis as well.
Oh, it's wonderful indeed, and I think it's so important for girls watching the show too,
that
they're seeing some female chess players, female
Heroes,
grandmasters, not women's grandmasters, but women who hold the grandmaster title.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's going to be really awesome. I mean, we've had Ho Yifan here before,
True.
but to have many grandmasters all in one place, and it'll be an awesome opportunity for some people watching to bring their daughters out to the chess campus.
Exactly.
Or their sons.
Or their
sons can be inspired by women as well. As Maurice was so inspired, he had to wake up at 6 in the morning to watch the women battle.
Exactly. Turning back to the game for just a second. Well, actually, we have a phone call. Sorry.
That's right. Welcome to the show. Let us know your name, where you're calling from.
Hi, this is Mohan. I'm calling from Boston, Massachusetts.
Hello. Welcome. Hello.
Hi. My question was, some people consider it a little bit unfair that the champion does not have to go through like grueling qualification. He just kind of sits there and waits, and everybody else has to go through multiple rounds, first to qualify as a candidate and then to the candidates tournament. And by the time he gets to be a challenger, he might be already tired or drained or something. How about everybody starts from at the same place and qualify through some fair process. I'm sure this has been asked before, but what are your thoughts on that? And I have another question. What happened to chess boxing? I would have liked to see the top grandmasters indulgence in chess boxing.
All right. Thank you so much.
I missed completely the question. I didn't know what the gentleman was asking.
Well, he had two questions. The first question was, is it fair that Magnus Carlsen gets doesn't have to go through any grueling qualification process as the world champion, which is an enduring debate. We always talk about the best formats for the world championship. And funnily enough, Magnus himself, I think, actually suggested a format some years ago that would require him to go through the grueling.
Exactly.
So it's so funny that even the top players who would be negatively impacted by it come up with these formats because they think that maybe chess needs to change in certain ways. I'm not sure, but I'm sure we'll continue to discuss that. And then his other question was about the top players in chess boxing and who would be the best guy. Well, I mean, these players are all in fantastic shape, but Cristian, I'm going to throw that to you. Who would be the best chess boxer?
My money's on Cristian. MMA. Yeah, baby.
No, of course. I actually contemplated the idea of doing some chess boxing. But I didn't get the rules exactly, how it works and how much time do I have to checkmate my opponent. But it seems like it pays off to be a really good boxer instead of a really good chess player.
Your brain's too valuable,
so I think it's a bit
Cristian.
skewed. At the moment, if the rules are going to be altered a little bit, maybe I will consider it. I know London has a booming scene of chess boxing. I actually went to a gala a few years back, and it was a lot of fun. One of my friends won. He was extremely happy. Lawrence Trent was there. David Howell was there. A lot of the creme de la creme from British championship and British chess was there, and it's very exciting. Potentially, I will look to experience that in the future, but I like it.
Cristian, I have to start telling you about the negative free roll. Okay, so a negative free roll is when you can gain a little something but not much. But if you lose your brain, which is like your most valuable asset as a grandmaster commentator.
That's why I stopped doing MMA. Well, also I stopped it because I was traveling so much this year, and I kind of miss it. But to be honest, I do understand the negative effects of getting punched in the head all the time. So I'm trying to limit that. But I miss it. I do miss it. I do miss the suffering that comes with those grueling exercises in MMA and routines and so on. It's a lot of fun. I do like punching people in the head. There is this also a little bit of a sadistic satisfaction when you get punched, But yeah, it's also very, very dangerous for your head. And with all this CTE talk going on, I'm trying to limit that.
And your face. I mean,
the concussion. Yeah, I mean, what they have in NFL sports and Major League Baseball too. A lot of players get concussion by getting hit in the head.
No, just seriously, I think sports are amazing. I love CrossFit. I love the. I don't actually watch MMA, but I see how much people get out of it. I just don't like the idea. I'm picturing Cristian. How many pounds are you, approximately?
180. I'm
picturing him getting paired in chess boxing to like an 1800 player who's like twice his size. I'm like, no, let's call it off.
There should be weight classes. There should be weight classes.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
I think I can get down to 160, maybe even 155.
Wow. That you'd be ripped. Talk to us about our ending. I'm having a hard time coming up with a good defensive effort.
Well, I just saw a new move, and that was king to d6. He's trying to put the king to defend the pawn on e5 from this side of the board so that he controls the square c5 as well. Whenever the rook is coming there, potentially I have the king closer to that rook, and maybe I could get some knight b4 ideas. For example, after king to d6, which was played, rook to c5. Can I go knight to b4 immediately? I think I can. And that's an interesting idea that just simply simplifies the position, and we're going to exchange the knights. So I'm going to be much closer to equality if I manage to exchange the knights. So this king d6, I think, is aimed specifically against the idea of playing rooks to c5. Now the question is, what if I just continue with my main plan, and that is to play the move b4, b5, destabilize the knight from c6, and then go rook to c5, attack the pawn on e5, capture that pawn, and win the game. The question is what's going to happen now. I would assume black would like to play the move a6 because after a4, oh no, the computer doesn't like this because of knight to c5, and that makes a lot of sense because after rook to b8, okay, with a pawn on b4, now you also control the square a5, so the knight cannot defend from a5. After knight to c5 in this position, rook to b8, rook to d1. Now the king is a little bit misplaced. I'm going to enter on the 7th rank with a tempo. This is just going to be complete destruction for black. So it's still a very unpleasant position. I think white's play is very easy. He's going to go b4, a4, expand on the queen side, displace the knight from c6, and it's going to be a very long night at the office for Maxime. I'm wondering, what is his time right now? How many minutes does he have left?
Well, he was an hour behind, Jennifer.
22 minutes.
Wow.
So he spent around, 14 minutes on this move?
King d6.
That's a lot.
Well, the lines that we were defending with king f6 were certainly coming up way too short. So king d6, at least...
He holds on to that key c5 square. I mean, obviously you can play that at c5, but then...
So after b4, let's try to go deeper into this endgame and try to understand what his defense mechanism is.
Well, first of all, I think b4 is a very, very good move. It really is, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's the funniest thing that in these positions, one of the things I've always looked out for is the weakness, getting weaknesses on both boards, both sides of the board. I would be very, very tempted to start with h4. It's like, I'm just basically saying, it's your turn. You put your king on d6. It's excellent square. Thank you very much. I'll go h4 and put my pawn on h5, gain some square space. So while I really think b4 is the most
incisive?
Consequent move, the most incisive move, h4 also attractive.
I like
let's
h4.
go to London. Let's go to London. Alejandro has a special guest.
Well, thank you, Yasser. We certainly expect Levon to be pushing this for a while, especially with this time advantage. But here I am with a very special guest, Rustom Qasimjanov, former FIDE world champion and now famously known for being the coach of Fabiano Caruana. Rustom, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about the transition between being FIDE world champion and a coach.
This transition kind of snuck up on me. I did not see it coming. I actually thought I was a very active player. And then Vichy asked me to help him in the match. And there came a second match. This was 2008. This was 10 bloody years ago.
Okay.
And I helped him in the match, and it took me a while to recover from the match. And then he asked me for a second match in 2010. And then there was a third match in 2012. And before I actually realized I was a coach and not a player anymore, because it was difficult to keep up my playing career. And also I felt that at some point, with all this coaching and traveling, and my own strength started to suffer a little bit. Like I would know so much more about chess after working with Vichy, but my actual decision-making over the board became not quite as efficient, I would think. And somehow I never made this conscious choice that I will be a coach, but it just happened.
Well, as you mentioned, you have 4 world championship matches under your belt, 3 with Vichy, 1 with Fabi. Tell us a little bit more about this recovery that you needed. Is it really that stressful?
Well, with Vichy, I felt I usually needed about like half a year to start functioning properly again, give or take. And those were the matches I won, or we won. So I wonder what will happen now, but I feel good. I feel optimistic about this one, because I think now I am. I know some recovery mechanisms I didn't know back then. Like I do yoga, I breathe, and it helps me.
We know a lot about the daily routines of our players, but tell us a little bit about the daily routine of a coach once you're in a tournament.
Well, first rule is that you don't get much sleep.
Okay.
There is basically no way around this, because especially with Fabi, we kind of do a lot of things together. Like we do dinner together, we do breakfast together, we do lunch together, which is not what I was doing with Vichy, for instance. Which means that you spend a lot of time together, meaning that there is less time you have for work. And I usually just wake up very, very early in the morning and start looking at something, and I go to bed late. So I usually get like maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep. And then I try to take a nap when he's playing. So my routine depends on the length of his games. So sometimes he has these tournaments where every game is 7 hours. This is a blessing for me because I can, get a nap, go for a walk, do some yoga, do some more yoga. And sometimes he has these days that I don't like
today.
Like today, yes. When I just get on my mat, I start doing some sun salutations, and suddenly I have to, reach for my phone and go meet him somewhere.
Sounds terrible.
Sounds terrible indeed. What are you going to do?
Do you think it's a very bonding experience to be the coach of a player?
I think it depends on the player. It is, of course, bonding anyway, but some people, I don't know if it's the right word, but some people get more intimate than others. As in, I have been a second to players that didn't really need to see me very much. What they wanted is analysis and ideas, and I try to deliver, but then it's not as personal. And with Fabi, we've been traveling together for 3.5 years now, and yes, I think we got close. Yes.
Yeah, 3.5 years seems like quite a while. And well, overall, how do you yourself feel after being in London for such a long time and having to come back here?
I had mixed feelings. My first trip to London was 2012, and God, I love the city. I just back then, 2012, I played the Grand Prix here, and we stayed at the Strand, and it was just such a beautiful location. I would walk around, and I would go to museums, I would go to Piccadilly, I would walk to all sorts of nice places, and for me, London was always like a pearl of the world. And losing the match here kind of creates some negativity as well. So now, for me, London is complicated. So coming back here was not easy. I did not enjoy driving into London like a week after we lost the match, to tell you the truth.
Well, hopefully this is a little bit dispelled if Fabi does well in here. Obviously, he's going to be having a tough match tomorrow. He faces Hikaru in Rapid Chess and Blitz. But thanks for your time, and, well, let's go back to the studio in St. Louis.
Yeah, thank you, Ali. My pleasure.
Thank you, Alejandro.
What a wonderful
Thank
interview.
You, Rustom. By the way, I thought that Rustom's English is impeccable, very, very well spoken. Obviously not his first language.
I think he
originally
loves
from Kazakhstan.
Uzbekistan. But he loves. I think he loves
Russian?
literature and movies and stuff. So, like Fabiano. Well, of course, Cristian would know more than I do, but he loves books and movies. So, I think for many years he's been really good at.
And he's a professional chess player. He interacts all the time with English-speaking people. So I think that just builds up throughout the years. And I mean, right now his English is immaculate.
Yeah. And I loved what he said, just because, you don't often get so much emotional content from grandmasters where they talk about.
Just like, we made a good move. It was wonderful.
Yeah, they talk about their feelings.
I had a great idea.
And I think that clearly ties in with his love of stories and literature, because you really get that sense when you heard that interview.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's a philosopher.
Okay. Knight c5. Neither h4, neither b4.
I loved your h4 move, by the way, Az. That was awesome.
Oh, yeah. He's,
I learned something.
He's hurrying up a little bit. He played this move, knight to c5, trying to create something immediately, and, calmly, Vachier played the move rook to b8. The only move in the position, because, of course, after knight c5, you cannot play the move b6, because after knight b7, you suddenly resign.
Right.
So after knight to c5, rook d7 is not possible because knight takes d7. King c7, of course, is not possible because knight takes e6. And potentially this move, knight to a5, of course, is not possible because a simple move such as rook d1 is just going to deliver the goods. After king to e7, you take. I'm going to take this other pawn as well. Knight takes e6, knight takes g7, and you're going to lose that knight's endgame. So, of course, b6 is the only, rook b8 is the only move in the position. And the question is how to defend this knight on c5, how to stabilize the knight on c5. And you would have to play b4 at some point. The problem is right now you cannot play b4 because knight takes b4 come on the board. You would love to play a3 and then b4 and then rook to d1 and invade on the seventh rank. The problem is after a3 I can probably just play the move a5, stop you from playing b4, and I don't see the follow-up. What is this knight doing on c5? How are you going to stabilize the knight on c5? Because that's what knight knights need. They need outposts. They need stable outposts. And the knight on c5 is not stable. The knight on d3 was stable, and it was actually supporting the expansion with b4. I'm not 100% sure about this move, knight to c5. We're going to have to wait and see what Aronian has planned, but maybe we will just see a retreat back to d3 and then continue with the move b4.
And this is where we stand, guys. 6 points for Nakamura and Caruana after drawing both of their classical games. 3 points for Aronian, and certainly hungry to get that 9 as he tries to press against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, who is defending an unenviable position, but as Magnus Carlsen stated, and I'm sure he was being tongue-in-cheek with Jan Gustafsson, Maxime loves defending positions like these.
Nobody loves defending positions like these.
Well, love is a relative term, right?
Exactly. But it's
No,
a bonding
it's not,
experience. It's a bonding.
Well, some people hate it less than others. That's what I mean, that's true, right?
Oh,
some
without
people,
question.
Some people hate it so much
as
that
a temperament for. I mean, in my day, Ulf Andersson was this great defender. He was remarkable in, keeping extremely difficult positions. Nobody liked that, but Ulf loved it. Ulf could handle it.
Well, yeah, it's all about how you sell it, because you could also say that this is this experience where you get to show your grit and your determination.
Right.
And it's a special type of
Hold your
pleasure.
ground or what have you, yeah.
It's a special type of pleasure getting, pressured and then finally getting the desired result.
Exactly.
It might not feel as joyous as winning a game
But
in a
it's
brilliant
victory for
sacrifice,
sure.
but it actually has its own special pleasures.
Yeah, it is a victory. Yeah, I mean, stealing that half a point, and keeping the game. We do have some moves.
Night before just played by...
H4 was played, your move. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would thought that knight c5 was a little premature, but okay, h4. And then came?
Knight to b4.
Knight to b4.
Whoa.
Which I don't understand, because I was just mentioning that I want to play a3, b4.
Well,
What's
a3
this?
is an automatic, right? Because I can't believe that MVL would want to bring his knight back to a6.
I'm
but
trying to understand. Okay, I think I
What,
see.
Can you trying to play knight at b6?
Pardon me?
b6, yeah.
b7,
baby.
a6?
a3, b6, but the problem
But why
is...
is that after knight b3?
Well, can't I?
Yeah, you can just take
You
with
can
that.
take, but then I will take on c5, and that endgame is not looking that easy. Because you take with the pawn on c5, I go king c6, and you have to defend on the b file.
And then I have rook b5.
Rook b5 as well. It seems like I'm getting enough counterplay to...
Or rook b3, rook b5.
to make a
yeah,
draw.
nice little in-betweener there.
King and pawn endings. Tuck, tuck, tuck. I'm not sure, but
You're not
okay.
sure
So
about the
you
draw.
think b6 is his
Okay, so what
intention?
after b6, can we
Knight
just
takes
do
c6,
something
maybe.
else?
Maybe
I
knight
will
takes
do-
c6.
So knight e6 taking a different pawn.
Now the question is, after knight to a2,
Yeah, misplacing your rook. That's what I wanted to do.
what to do now? What to do now? You take on e6, and
Take
then you
on
go on the
E6.
c file.
And take over the c file, you say. So what do we have here?
I mean, but
pawn
you're
up?
going to be able to just play king d3 and b4 and reroute your rook. I mean, this is still a healthy pawn, right? Healthy-ish.
Healthy-ish, yeah. Rook d8, I'm going to start checking you, of course.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
we
kind
just
of
need
a
that. We
check.
need that like one tempo to play b4 or whatever.
Rook d8 again.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not going
well,
to
I mean, you've
recapture
got
any of your
some
pawns,
kind
but
of, okay, but from the start, if you had played b6, I would actually like to just retreat my knight.
to a4, okay.
Okay, so
You're trying
let's
to
say-
go knight c3, knight b5, right?
Right.
So
But now I go b5 myself.
that is true. Funnily enough, I would prefer my knight on d3.
That's, yeah.
Knight b4, very intriguing.
So
move.
knight b4, yeah, knight b4, a3, b6. I think maybe we'll see that line with
about-
knight e6 because that looked the most promising to me.
I'm just
Oh, okay.
b5?
b5. That's an
Or
unfortunate-
a5, a5, a5.
a5 just trying to play knight b4.
But b5, why did you reject b5?
Well, didn't you see the engine? It just jumped. Yes, sir.
Oh, did it? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed
I'm
it.
trying not to make a fool of myself here.
Okay. Well, It's a challenge. I
It's a challenge.
understand. I understand it's a challenge, but
No,
okay.
I think the problem with this one is rook to c2.
And then if b4, there's b.
If b4 or a5, I'm going to go rook to d2. You're going to lose the pawn on e5, and I'm also going to invade on the d file.
Oh, that's annoying.
Good point. Okay, so you had the idea of a5, perhaps, and then if I go into the rook and be like a keeper.
I'm not going to be afraid of that. I'm actually very happy with that. I'm going to go knight b4. We are going to exchange b5. I think this is more than enough for equality.
Well, the trade of knights really assists black.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Except
Knight
when we get a free pawn. I mean, I feel like that line, to me, that seemed the most promising.
Which one?
A3, knight
The A3, b6, knight e6. I like that the best because I didn't feel like black had enough comp there for the whole pawn.
Yeah, let's try to go deeper into that line. Is rook to a1 the only move? I guess it is. Yeah, it looks like the only move.
Oh, because the knight is trapped. Like if we were to play rook
I was
c2
actually
and
considering
b3 or something.
even just giving up the knight with the move rook to c7, but that's
crazy.
Yeah, that's a bit crazy.
But you could do it.
Well,
you could try
that's what
rook to
we're here
c7.
for.
Well, first of all, it
and now
is three
king
pawns.
to d2. What about king to d2? No. I'm not.
He wants
I want to
his cake
trap
and eat
your
it
knight.
too.
I want to trap your knight and have an active rook. After
Okay,
king
so
to e6,
king
I'm going to
d2.
go king to d2.
Well, I like this idea. So what about king? So if I play king d6,
You probably have to
You're
at this
gonna-
point.
just play rook c2 and try to trap my knight? No, okay, you're going to go after it. And now after rook c8, you're just getting so many pawns.
Well,
I'm
this
getting
is
a lot of
already
pawns,
number
but
three.
that's a knight.
That's
That is
already
a
number.
knight.
Oh, but here you're.
No, that's my idea. Knight c1, yeah.
No, now black is okay.
You think he's getting enough counter?
No, the knight.
I am having like 4 pawns.
I don't know. This is interesting. But the other option is instead of playing rook takes pawn, maybe you could just try to trap the knight anyway with like rook c2.
From the start? You rook c2 from the start?
Oh, actually, wait. Rook c7, king e6. I'm too late. Okay, I see what you're saying.
No. What? Sorry.
But didn't Cristian have an idea of king d2 that we didn't look at? So knight a2, after knight a2, rook c7, king e6.
No, that's the one we looked at.
And then-
Rook 7, king e6, king d2, king d6.
King d6, and then at this point, yeah, I don't have a choice. Yeah,
You
I
can
have
go
to.
rook to c2, but
But
even
then what's
after
the
that,
point?
after b4, I'm going to go knight takes b4, and we're going to have equal pawns, and I shouldn't have any problems.
I'll play b3.
You want to play b3? Okay.
So you can.
But then, what did I gain from the other variations where I could have just played rook c2 from the beginning? I
That's the
improved my
thing.
king position? No, I didn't.
I don't think
so.
so,
I would just
yeah.
play rook c2 here then.
Or rook a1.
Yeah, rook a1
For that reason.
and just play this position up a pawn.
It is up a pawn, so this could be a path that we're going to see.
Yeah, it's a very
like this.
straightforward idea as well. But again, I mean, when you play this move knight b4, it is because after a3, it's a pawn sacrifice because you're not going to go back to c6. Because as you said, Cristian, you go back to c6. You wanted to play a3 and b4 anyway.
Yeah.
So you got 3 moves in for free.
No, I think
You
this
got
is
h4.
already close
So-
to losing.
Yeah. So after a3, you're
Maybe knight a6.
Yeah, you're basically obliged to go.
But then I go back, right?
Well, now you've got maybe an ideal setup. What is the knight
What is the knight
doing there? I
A6.
mean, it was on a superior square c6.
And at this point, I'm also starting to consider just simply displacing your king with the idea of playing g3, f4.
Rook d1 might even.
Rook
also
d1 as
cause
actually
a
rook d1 is a threat.
Yeah, disruption.
threat.
Yeah.
You're right.
No, everything is. And Jennifer, the time for. I mean, Levon's got a big edge on the clock. Is that still the
Oh,
case?
huge edge. That's right. You see here, just 18 minutes left for Maxime Vachier-Lagrave and over an hour for Levon, as hour and 20 minutes actually.
An hour and 20?
Over an hour 20. So
Yeah.
bigger than hour advantage, as it seems that Levon's moves are coming easy to him. So he figures, why not put him on the pressure on the clock and on the board?
These are the type of these are the type of situations on the clock where you actually have to factor in other problems, such as physiological problems. Because let's say you get down to your last four minutes, and your
Okay.
opponent has another hour to think, and you start drinking too much water.
I
and then
see.
you have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah,
What are
yeah,
you
yeah,
going to
yeah,
do
yeah.
then? I can think for like 40 minutes. You're going to have to sit at the board.
Well, Maxime's a mathematician, and he's not at the board here, Cristian. So I think
he's doing the math. He's doing
yeah. There's a famous story like that between the Byrne brothers, Robert Byrne and Donald Byrne. And Donald Byrne was an hour behind on the clock, and Robert was taking his time and to move 40. And Donald really needed to go to the bathroom, so Donald whispered to his brother across the board, Robert, please don't move. I need to go to the bathroom. And Robert said something along the lines of, go to the toilet on your own time.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not giving you any, no guarantees, no promises, you know. For sure, that's also an issue you've got to keep in mind. I don't know what Black is going to do after A3. I don't have a good suggestion.
I think he's just going to go with the move B6 and try to defend the rook endgame with the pawn down.
And we'll have a lesson in rook endgames from both the attacking and the defending side.
Right. A3, B6, and you think this is just going to go into a very, very unpleasant rook
It's a
endgame.
question of passive versus active defense. And he chose the active defense. He's going to lose the pawn. He pays his dues for that active defense. But at the same time, you know, his rook becomes active. He's going to find a path towards the first rank. I like this, by the way. I like this rook c2 much better than rook a1.
So something like this.
Yes, but I think maybe now I can even avoid you coming on the first rank with the move king to d2.
Not rook to d2, but what did you say, sorry?
King to d2 in this position.
King to d2.
Yes,
So
and now if you go rook to d8, I'm going to go king to... I was thinking king to c1. King to c1, and whenever you're going to give me another check, rook to c2. But the problem is rook to d3 doesn't look very appealing to me. In this position, rook to d3 for black.
Rook to d3 for black.
Yeah, I still don't see the mechanism to keep you away from penetrating with
It's
your
like
rook.
black is getting active play.
Yes, so maybe instead of king c2...
Whoa, you're still going?
That's what I wanted. Why don't we do that with rook to b2? You don't have a good move.
From the start?
Yeah, rook to b2 in this position.
I see.
Threatening king to c2 and your idea of trapping
the rook.
Trapping the rook, yeah.
Well, as we see how this endgame shakes out, Levon's actually yet to play the move A3, but as we know, he has gobs of time. We are going to take a little break, and we'll be back for more from the round 2, day 2 of the semifinals here at the Grand Chess Tour Finals.
Right.
Question on Twitter from Damas. I should not have pronounced that. That was a bit of a trap, yeah?
For those of you who are new to chess, it might look like ba3 is an illegal move here because white advances pawn 2 squares, not 1. But it's a little something we call en passant. And you can do that, but you have to do it instantly. You can't wait for a move, like let's say play king e7, king g2, and now try, because could I do it?
I'm sorry. This is too funny for words.
This is a software glitch? I'm pretty sure there's not allowed.
Lawrence. Hello, Lawrence. Yeah, I'll play 4 against Lawrence. And now he's going to play something against me which we discussed at length during the course of my stay. Yeah, he told me this is excellent. d5, this was what I was kind of hoping for, because now I think e5 is quite strong. No, Lawrence, this is not how chess works. Sadly, it would be much, much more fun if chess actually worked like this. But I don't think it does. Or maybe it does. Well, that's me regretting what I just said. How did I get from there to here is a little bit beyond me. And what's worse, I will never hear the end of it. My quality of life has just gone downhill tremendously because I'm actually sharing the office with the guy.
surprised. Be intrigued. Be delighted. The World Chess Hall of Fame in St. Louis is nothing you'd expect and everything you love. 3 galleries highlight the history, culture, and creativity behind the game. Explore chess in ways you never imagined. It's a one-of-a-kind cultural institution where rare artifacts and world-class art play together. The World Chess Hall of Fame. Mind, art, experience.
Healthcare in America is changing, evolving, and we're helping lead the transformation. Ascension is made up of physicians and other caregivers called to deliver compassionate, personalized care for all. As one of the largest providers of care in the country, our patients benefit from collaboration between hospitals, medical practices, and healthcare innovators nationwide. Ascension's faith-based heritage means we have a moral obligation to serve everyone, especially those who are struggling. Last year, we provided almost $2 billion in care for people living in poverty and for programs to help them. Whether it's in a hospital, a neighborhood clinic, a senior living facility, or at home, Ascension's care providers value every aspect of our patients' lives and health. We listen with respect to ensure every person we serve gets the right care for them. Personalized, compassionate, that's Ascension.
Hello and welcome back to our coverage of the London Chess Classic, the Grand Chess Tour Finals. Right now, actually, we're in the semifinals as we see Levon Aronian try to take the honor of being the only man to win a classical game in the semis, as he's seriously pressing against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. In fact, he's up a clear pawn in the endgame.
No rook ending.
That's
yes,
right.
He is, Jen.
But as Cristian mentioned, small consolations for Maxime include active rook and just the fact that the knights are traded. Having the extra pawn with knights on the board would be devastating.
Absolutely. No, the trade of the knights definitely benefiting Maxime. And now we think that he's getting some well, in fact, he is getting activity. Cristian, is it enough? Because maybe Levon could have done it in a nicer way.
I think he could have done it much better, and that is in this position after knight to a2. This move, rook to c2, that we were mentioning before we went on a break. King takes e6, and now b3. The difference with rook a1, rook takes a2 idea is that now you control the c file.
Right.
So black doesn't have this option of putting the rook on the c file and threatening the penetration on the first or the third rank. For example, if you go rook to d8, maybe I can just simply go king to e2.
Right.
King to e2, controlling all the squares, all your entry squares. And now you have to lose a tempo. That is the problem. You have to lose a tempo. I would assume maybe this is what he was afraid of. Knight to b4, a takes b4, and rook to d4. Though, my rook becomes active as well. And now I'm starting to pick up your pawns. If I pick up g7, h7, then these guys are going to start running down the board, and it's going to be very, very difficult to defend them. So I don't know what he missed. I don't know why he hurried with the move rook to a1, because it seems like rook to c2 is such an accurate move. And these are the type of moves that Aronian needs to find in order not to give his opponent any sort of counter chance. And he didn't do that in game one. He seems to be slipping a little bit in game two. But of course, his advantage is still quite significant right now. He's a pawn up. Of course, the rook is going to invade potentially on the third rank, potentially on the first rank. We're going to have to wait and see what Maxime will do. He has some choices to make. He has very little time left on the clock. So the clock is definitely going to... He played rook c1, I think?
Yeah, I was about to
rook
say...
to c1.
Let's assume active play right away.
He did play rook to c1. Rook to d2 was played.
Rook c1, rook to d2. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, compared to the previous position, this just doesn't seem like it stacks the same punch, you know?
The best boxing metaphor is coming up today.
Definitely, we got boxing on the mind.
And you meant compared to the previous position, the one that we were looking at earlier? Or just the last?
The one with rook c2, b3.
Yeah. Okay.
Where black just simply doesn't get the rook invading on the first and the third rank.
We know in rook endings especially, especially those where you're a pawn down, seek activity is the defender here. So here I've got two choices. In my view, one choice is to go rook h1 to hit this pawn. The other choice I would find myself attracted to is rook b1. Give me the pawn on b3. If you play rook d3 to defend the pawn, then I go check, check, and I will just wait.
And the king now is passive, right?
Not only is the king passive, but the black rook is also very active here.
No, the rook on d3 is not active. The king on f1
difference over the previous line that you were mentioning. So this is the current position, and also there's this move to consider. The reason I don't think he'll play rook c3 is because after rook b2 with the threat of king d2 to kick the rook back, you're going to have to play rook c1 anyway.
But that was the position that we started off from.
No.
With the rook on a2.
Yes.
Is that a difference?
Yeah, well, maybe the difference being that the rook is actually better on b2 than on a2 for whatever reasons, like this. So this is our current position. The rook is on a2.
The rook is on d2, but yeah, the rook was on a2.
Yeah. Now the rook is on b2, and maybe for whatever reasons, I can play b4. You know what I'm saying? Is my rook better on b2 than a2?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not that big a deal anyway. We do have Rook A1, by the way, after the move.
But I'm
Rook
upset.
B2.
I'm very upset at how White is playing this game, because he's just giving Black too many chances.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot win games like this.
Right.
As a 2800 at that level, you have to be perfect in this type of technical situations. Nobody's asking you to be perfect, and nobody is perfect in extremely complex situations.
Right.
But when it comes to technicality, these guys need to have it pretty perfect.
And the thing is, we have such a high expectation of their play. We do see them more often than not playing exceptionally precise moves. And you're distraught that Rook A1 by Aronian instead of Rook C2 could be the difference between a draw or
No,
victory.
absolutely. And it just seems like he didn't take his time. These are the type of situations in which, when you're in shape, when you're in good shape, you're going to be accurate, surgical precision.
Yeah.
When you're not in shape, you're going to miss that final blow.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to miss it, your opponent is going to get enough counter chances, and he's going to escape with a draw. It happened yesterday, it seems to be happening today, and it seems to be a trend in Aronian's game this year. We were discussing this over dinner last night, and I couldn't remember, besides the candidates, which was just abysmal from Aronian. I think he did -4 or something like that. Lost like 15 to 20 rating points, ridiculous. Right. But he still is only 2765, coming down from almost 2800 at the beginning of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So I was trying to understand where he lost his rating points, and I think he lost a few at the Olympiad as well. And because in the Grand Chess Tour he played quite well. He played well in the Sinquefield Cup.
He qualified.
He scored quite well in the Rapid and Blitz. But I guess you were mentioning Norway chess most
there
likely.
Was maybe the Grenke as well, Levon. There you see how he gets here. Number 2 coming into this competition, Jen.
That's right. He did tie for first in the Sinquefield Cup, and on top of that, he didn't really have a bad tournament in any of the other stops. So that's what got him into this nice position.
Tying for first in the Sinquefield Cup. We go back to 2013, 2014. He was the number 2 rated player in the world by far. Magnus was just ahead of him. There was one single game where there was a swing game, where I think had he won, he would have gained 5 rating points. He has lost to Magnus, losing 5 rating points. That 10-point swing was between first and second. So this is a player who maybe at his peak was 28-37 or there's about, and almost number 1. That's a big fall from grace.
Absolutely.
Christian.
No, absolutely. And, he's 36 years of age. He's not getting any younger. He has to pack that final punch and go for the World Championship title because he wants it.
Yes.
He wants it so badly. And the whole nation of Armenia wants to have another world champion.
Right.
And that expectation seems to be weighing on him a little bit. And maybe that's the reason why he didn't do it up to this point. But in many interviews, Magnus was specifying the fact that he's kind of afraid of his creativity, of Aronian's creativity. He's one of those players in the cycle that could potentially pose a lot of problems to Magnus. But so far, he's not getting there. And maybe these are the type of situations that he needs to work on or try to get them out of the system, where he hurries in these critical situations instead of finding the surgical precision needed.
Very good. Now, having said that, we are at a point where White does have a pawn to the good.
Yes.
And certainly is hopeful, that is to say, White is hopeful that he could at least press and maybe score a victory. How, in your view, would White go about doing that? You're a little bit behind on your board compared to the current position.
Yes, this is the position we currently have on the board. And I'm expecting White to try to get his king all the way to G3 and maybe go F4 at some point, maybe try to go bring his king all the way to H3 and then play the move G3 and then slowly try to ladder up and then expand on the king side. With that being said, this rook is so active on
Right.
b2, and it's just making this rook on d3 so passive. You're not going to be able to invade because my king is safely securing the square d7. If you go to c3, I'm going to go back to d6. I'm going to secure the entry on c7. So you're not going to be able to transition into those type of positions where you give a pawn on this side but capture all the others on the other side. You're not going to be able to get that, and that's a problem. This king is going to be tied to the defense of the pawn on g2. That's why you need to find a way to untie it. So potentially bring the king to h3. You don't want to play g3 first, because then the king is going to be cut on the first rank.
Clear.
You want to bring it all the way to the third rank, then play the move g3, and then think what's going to happen after that. For black, I think he's going to try to stop white from doing that, from getting his king active with the move to h5, securing this entry on g4 via g4 for the white king. I think this is going to be an easy draw by now. Black is just too active.
I would like to play the devil's advocate if I could, just for a moment.
You like
there.
pawn, Yaz?
No, I think everything Cristian said was right on the mark. The thing that really surprised me was this move a7, a6. I thought what you said with h7, h5 made perfect sense. But when I saw this move a6, I'm thinking...
You want to play h5.
I will play h5.
Makes a lot of sense.
And then I will do what you said, which is I'm not going to have my king trapped on the first rank. I want to go king to g1 to h2 to h3, just as you said. Then I'll play the move g3. And then I'll put my king on g4, thanks to the fact that I have my pawn on h5.
Let's try to take it one step at a time.
Okay, by all means. I'll start with h5.
b5.
Very good.
I want to
and we'll trade.
Solidify that pawn on b3, your weakness on b3.
Exactly.
We're going to trade that one.
We're going to trade that one, and I will go king g1.
King g1.
Yes.
Let's go b4 as well.
Okay, so you gain space. Well done.
And now king f6. Now I think it's time, and I'm ready to go king f6. My pawn on b4 seems to be quite threatening if you decide to sacrifice the pawn on b3.
Fair enough. King h3.
King g5.
Wow. Okay, so now we get to go here, right?
What if I go king f4?
King f4. Wow. Okay.
Maybe I'm becoming too active for my own good.
Yes, I like how Yaz, when you say wow, it's like a bad thing.
Like, okay.
Wow.
Well,
I never thought you could play this badly.
Yeah, well, my ambition keeps ratcheting up with... okay, unless you want to give me a checkmate. Then
no, I don't like this one. I don't like this one. I don't have enough counterplay with the b pawn.
But in this moment, when you could have just taken my pawn, and you're gonna end up getting this guy, Cristian. I mean, you have given me.
Yeah, no, I like this one. I like this idea.
I mean, it's 3 versus 3.
Just take. I'm going to take on b3. 3 versus 3. It doesn't seem like you have enough.
So after a6, by the way, he did not play, that is to say, Levon, after a6, he did not play h5. He just went king g1 right away. So, again, would you...
b5. b5 immediately.
Okay. Okay, we're going to see a trade. And again, I would play h5 personally, but let's see if we can't channel the players a little bit better.
All right, king to h2.
I assume b4?
He doesn't seem to be wanting to put that pawn on h5 because of this specific reason of king f6, king g5.
Exactly.
So let's go b4.
Okay, fair enough. And we're going to... Okay, so I'm going to play king h3. Now I think I'm ready to play g3 and h5 and king g4.
Okay. Wait a minute. Do I have the move rook to c2?
Yes.
I do have the move rook c2. Rook c2, rook c3.
Yes. You definitely should be doing that kind of a business. Let's say h5, rook c3. Yes. Where do I go with my rook?
I don't think you have enough, Yasser. I simply don't think you have enough.
Winning potentials.
No,
yes.
no.
I mean, so rook.
My b pawn is going to be a threat as well.
Yeah.
Rook b1.
Okay.
King f6.
King f6, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just a
See what his
second.
plan is. Ooh. You've been trying
That's
to play
okay.
that
I'll
for
take
ages.
that. I'll take that. I'll take the pawn.
Like this? Really?
Yes.
Okay. My ambitions might get high again. I don't know. Probably it's still
So
a draw.
you wanted me to be precise and take it with a rook,
yeah,
rook
rook
h1.
h1 checks.
I think rook h1 was good enough. Yeah.
But I don't like that, to be honest. I don't like rook h1.
Okay.
I think at the end, towards the end, I was in no danger at all.
Okay.
So king f6, h6. I will take that. You take on h7, and then I'm just going to go king to g5, maybe.
King to g5.
Maybe even king to g5.
Okay.
I want to be ambitious.
Ambitious. Yeah, I like the
King f6. Okay, enough ambition.
you went from being super ambitious to being less than okay.
Enough
Now
ambition.
I don't know. I think it's a draw. I do think it's a draw. And I think that Levon...
I can go king g5 back, right?
Well, Magnus turned out to be right, perhaps. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave loves defending, loves defending these positions.
Loves the gravel. Well, if
another
you,
funny thing that Magnus
if you
said
can do it.
on his interview with Jan Gustafsson is that he thought that Caruana is clearly weaker relative to the others in rapid chess. He's calling Fabi's style demanding.
Because he calculates so deeply.
Meaning that it's demanding on Fabiano.
Correct.
And you can't just like chill and like relax and play the moves by feel as
That's
much.
right.
So that, of course, he shifts to that, but that's one of the reasons why it's more difficult for him.
Well, I saw that in two players especially, Garry Kasparov and Walter Sean Brown. These two were extraordinarily gifted calculators, and they really, really enjoyed looking deep, deep, deep into the positions. They burned a lot of time on their clocks, and oftentimes, especially in the case of Walter Brown, got himself into a lot of time trouble, and that end up like they burn out, they flame out because they calculated so deeply. The demands on them were great, whereas I thought of Anatoly Karpov as kind of the contrarian to that strategically he played so easily that he was a great natural player. What's your take there, Cristian?
Maybe what he meant by demanding as well was the fact that Fabiano has to put so much time and so much effort into his opening preparation. So he has to spend a lot of time when he's not in competition. He has to spend a lot of time when he's in competition. And Magnus, for example, he could just relax during competition because he's not so attached to his opening preparation. He's going to choose what he wants to play given by his seconds before the game. He's going to go through those variations for a little while, and then he's going to just accurately play it over the board, and then he's quite confident about his middle game. I would assume this is what he meant as well, a potential other side of this comment of being demanding to one's game. The fact that he has to spend so much time on his preparation.
And how about you, Jennifer? In your own play, did you see yourself as a calculator
that's
yourself?
why, and I got into time pressure, and I also felt that I was better at the classical chess by far.
Then Blitz or Rapid?
Well, especially Rapid. I feel like Rapid was the worst because that
Really?
was like an in-betweener where you can't just like, you know, you kind of have to calculate a little, but it's very difficult to manage it.
Right.
So I always had a lot of difficulty with those game 30s and stuff at the Marshall and stuff like that. That would be the Christmas for the other players.
But I remember
rating points.
I remember you being a very good Blitz player.
Yes, you know, I like Blitz though. I did like Blitz. I like playing quickly.
And somehow the Rapid, though, that wasn't your...
I think
that was the in-between, the classic and the Blitz.
And I'm sure there's a way to strategize that as well. So like just think about it, and like now that Rapid is becoming such an important part of training and winning tournaments.
As we see.
Definitely it's not an unsolvable problem. If you have skills at Blitz and you have skills at Classical, you should be able to figure out a way to play good Rapid. It's just maybe not as intuitive because Blitz, it's obvious the prescription. Play fast, play good moves fast, calculate once a game.
Okay.
But we've got a Grandmaster Alejandro with a special guest from London. I can't wait to see who it is.
Well, thank you, Jen. And of course, we're waiting here to see how Aronian continues his pressure against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. But as I was mentioned earlier, this building breeds chess culture. I'm here with Grandmaster from Australia, David Smerdon. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Well, David, there's a lot going on here besides the 4 players in the Grand Chess Tour. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing here.
Yeah, so I'm not actually here specifically for the chess tournament, one of the few people not here for that, but they had the London Chess Conference, which is the biggest chess conference in the world, I think, with a whole bunch of practitioners and also educators, and then people like me, a researcher. So we got together to talk about it over the weekend.
Well, tell us a little bit more about your research.
Well, I work in different areas now, so I left the chess playing world a couple of years ago and moved into economics. And typically I don't work on chess within economics. I work on mainly development economics and behavioral economics. So things to do with the psychology of how people make decisions, and also things in developing countries to do with poverty and women's issues and that sort of stuff. But when I came here, the reason is because one of the sponsors of the tournament, Chess in Schools and Communities, they've started to do some work in prisons. And I'm quite interested in prisoner reform and how to improve the well-being of prisoners and also to help them when they get out of prison. And the organization has started using chess in the prisons, which is kind of exciting. And they've had a few sort of programs in Brazil, also I think Illinois as well. And they're trying to get researchers like me on board to evaluate it, provide some sort of scientific assessment, and hopefully expand it into more prisons.
How long has this project been going on here in the UK?
They've been doing it for a couple of years now. It was obviously, you can imagine there's quite a lot of logistical stuff to get into a prison. You've got to get approval by the ministry and stuff like this. But they did it. They work super hard here in the UK. It's a great organization. And now I think they've got 4 prisons. Might be wrong, but I think it's 4. And they're looking to expand it because each prison has loved it so much, and the prisoners, they really enjoy the program. They've seen some anecdotal benefits that other prisons are now starting to come to them and say, hey, maybe we're interested as well, let's come in. There's one guy in the UK, Carl Portman, he wrote this book that came out a few years ago called Chess Behind Bars, kind of a nice title, about his experiences going in and some of the stories. It's really quite inspiring, so that's what sort of got me interested to see whether I can combine my day job with this as well.
Well, speaking of combining things, how do you feel as what you consider yourself a former chess player, as somebody that obviously loves the game, with going out of the chess world?
I mean, so I got to Grandmaster level, but as you know, I'm not a particularly strong Grandmaster, so I was never really at that sort of, making a decent living standard anyway, so maybe it's already a bit sneaky to call myself a former player. I was just a good amateur, I guess.
Grandmaster is a very strong amateur.
Yeah, but never not at the level of the people here. And actually, might surprise people, but I found something that I enjoyed even more than chess, which I thought was not possible, which is research. I have a great job. I can choose what I want to work on. I've always been pretty socially minded, trying to improve conditions in developing countries. And the good thing about my job as an academic is that I get to travel, same as a chess player, get to visit new countries, so there's that sort of lifestyle element as well.
Well, awesome. Well, let's take a look a little bit about the chess. We see a couple of moves. I saw that you were analyzing this with a couple other grandmasters. We got Julian Hodgson in the house, we got Daniel King in the house. What do you think are Aronian's chances of actually winning this position?
I mean, both these players are so technically good that normally I'd say that whatever the objective assessment is, these guys would probably reach it. But the real issue for me is this thing up here.
Right.
So, Paul Maxime...
To be fair, he has 3 more moves to make.
He's got 3 more moves to make, but also I think from an energy levels point of view, he's had to stress knowing that he's walked into preparation again. I think that's made him put in a lot of mental energy, and now he's got to really calculate hard. So, I mean, me and a few of the other guys here, a few of the other British grandmasters were analysing this way back, and about an hour ago I thought we'd end up in an endgame, a rook and pawn endgame with 4 versus 3 on the king side. That was my ambitious prediction.
4 versus 3, so you think these guys are going to get swapped off?
That's what I thought an hour ago, so if it happens then I'll pat myself on the shoulders. And then John Spielman, sort of an endgame expert, bit of a legend in UK circles, was talking about this Botvinnik-Nardorf endgame where you've got 2 versus 2 but an e-pawn as well, where Botvinnik goes for the win, which is possible if Aronian can swap off the f-pawn for the e-pawn. And again, we're a little way away from that at the moment, but those are the sort of games that I guess both these players know like the back of their hand, and they're both trying to either get there or avoid it.
Right, of course, we are building on the great of the past, and of course they must know all these games. B takes a4 has been played, and a couple of moves closer for Maxime to make time control, but still a dangerous situation. Well, David, thank you for joining us here in London, and we go back to our studio in St. Louis.
Thank you,
Thank you, Alejandro and David. I mean, he loves research more than chess. You know where I think he should visit? St. Louis.
World Chess Hall of Fame.
Well, just in general.
All the archive materials that are over there.
Well, I was actually thinking about the fact that the Chess Club and Scholastic Center, like they're doing a lot of research studies.
Of course.
In conjunction with, there's some board members who are very into research as well, Podgorski.
Right.
And
with dementia, this chess delay. And if you activate the brain at an elderly age, can you push away dementia?
Indeed, that's one really important project they're working on, as well as trying to do more and convincing research on chess in the schools and the benefits.
Absolutely.
So it just sounds like David would have a blast here talking to people, so hopefully we can get him here.
Interesting about the prison and the recidivism. And chess, of course, has been in the prison systems for so many years. And I think of Nelson Mandela. When he was in prison, he loved playing chess because he was looking to kill time, first of all. And he found that chess did that, and he had what he called good Sitzfleisch. He would try to outweight his opponent, when he got into a bad position, he would explain. But also, it was a great competitive, and to use his mind while in prison.
Absolutely. When somebody asks you the books you're going to bring to the desert island, I would just say a deck of cards and a chessboard.
That's very, very important. Cristian, over to you. Rook d8 was played by Levon, kind of abandoning his queenside a little bit. And then we saw captures on a4. Go ahead, please take us through these last few moves.
It's a transitional move. He decided not to wait any longer, not to defend passively the extra pawn. Give it back, but get the initiative. And that's exactly what he's trying to do right now. I think after b takes a4, we have the move rook to a2 on the board. And now rook to h8 was played.
Rook h8.
Rook to h8.
Okay,
trying
that's
to
a
create
surprise.
some more weaknesses. h6. And this is the position currently we have on the board.
Okay.
I was going through the endgame with the computer.
Yes.
And the computer really loves White's position.
Really?
After the move h5.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yes, you gotta like that move. You're trying to play
I've
that
been
a long
trying
time
to play
ago.
that for a long time.
And
Rook
he's
takes.
just going to play for an active position. King to h2, king to h3, bring the king all the way to g4.
Okay.
And slowly try to get your king out of e6 and invade with the king to f5. And it seems like black is going to have a very difficult task not allowing that to happen.
So just to put some moves on the board, which are quite logical.
Rook to a8. I will go back to
Yes.
a8 right now because I always want to have that check on the side.
And then we get a situation like this where, as you say, you want to invade through the square f5. You can go check.
I can go immediately, rook to a6.
And you've achieved the absolute ideal.
Yes.
This is the dream that White wants when he played the move rook h8, the current position.
This is done.
Yes. Amazing.
This would be totally done, right?
It's a beautiful painting.
So many
that he's
weaknesses
made.
on the light squares.
And it's nice how the rook on a1 does absolutely squat because the king is shielded by its own pawns against any kind of counterplay.
Is that a chess term?
Squat?
Yeah. You got nothing. You got squat. Okay. Rook h8, and that's the h6 has been played,
h6
right?
has been played, and now Aronian is thinking. I would assume he's going to go h5.
And h5
nope,
is
no. We have rook e8 on the board. Check. Check first.
Not h5. Not
No.
king h2.
No.
None of the moves that we have been.
Which is fine. You can play h5
advocating.
next move. You can play h5 next move. King to f6. This is the position we have on the board. Rook to b8. Wow.
Rook to boy 8, and he has captured the pawn.
Rook takes a4.
And Levon is playing like...
He's playing so fast.
I know exactly what I'm doing. This is brilliant. I've got you where I want you, kind of thing. He's just played rook b6 check. I played king f7, anticipating...
That's what Maxime did.
Maxime will do, and he has played king f7. And again, I'm with you 100%. I think you play h5
He did.
here.
He
There
did
it
play
is.
h5.
Okay, and again, we now know what the idea is, which is to bring the king through the key gateway f5. Now I got to ask you to play like Maxime. How do you stop white from achieving what he wants?
That is a good question, Yasser.
Okay, and that's why you're getting the big bucks.
I'm also trying to understand that. I don't want to use the engine too much because it's such an interesting position.
Sure.
I want to try to figure it out myself as well.
Exactly.
But I think you will have, it will have to do something with keeping the rook on a2.
Okay.
Tied to the pawn on g2. Whenever you go g3, I'm going to recycle that rook on a3. I'm going to put it on a3 back. I don't want to play a4 or a3. I don't want to do any of that. Maybe a5. a5 could be an idea, though I think I want to keep your rook on the side of the pawn.
Okay.
Rather than behind the pawn. So,
So
when you
you'll
go king
start
to
with-
h2, I'm just going to start waiting. Rook
Okay.
to a2, king h2, king e7.
King e7.
Let's try to figure this one out.
Okay.
King
So-
f7. I'm going to continue sitting.
Now, because your rook is, I can't run and lose my pawn on g2. I'll play the move g3.
Rook to a3.
Okay, so now I have to defend my pawn. And now again, you'll just wait for.
And
a
now I
second?
wait. Yeah. Let's say king
Okay.
e7.
So the same thing, that if I go king f5 with the idea of king takes e5,
You
I'll
lose
give
your
up.
pawn,
Yeah, I'll
right.
give up my f3 pawn, which is something I'd rather not do. Okay.
So you probably want to play f4.
Right. So I'm assuming you're going to take. We'll get this kind of thing.
terrible for black.
It kind of does. I agree with you, Jen. I mean, king to f5, e5 is just.
Yeah, I mean that king is a participant in the avalanche as the pawns push forward, whereas you just got
You're
your rook
getting
on the
pushed.
worst place ever to try to
Black
push
is
your
just
a-pawn.
simply not getting any sort of counterplay.
And again, David was mentioning at the game of Miguel Najdorf and Michael Bodbinick, and he was explaining that there was a missing e5 pawn, but this g3 pawn, this now f4 pawn was back on g3. It's actually even stronger on f4 than it was in that game between Bodbinick and Najdorf. Famous ending. So this is actually looking really good for Levon. Just getting that pawn to h5 and making a gateway for his king. This is the current position, Jennifer? Have I got this right? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it looks like it. We see the board.
Okay.
Yes,
So this
MVL
is-
right now has a lot of time. We're not talking about time trouble anymore because
Right.
we're past the 40 move mark. And he needs to find the exact defense. He needs to be extremely precise. Let's try to push the pawn all the way to the second rank. So
Okay.
a5, rook a6, let's go a4.
Okay. And king h3.
Because it seems the tactic of just waiting and losing time doesn't work. You have to create some sort of active play related to the pawn on a4.
So a3?
a3, g3, I think
Yes.
has to be played. And let's go rook a1.
Okay. So here now a2, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. So the idea here is that the moment my king steps across, I have to target your pawn.
Yeah. And you
should
need
I-
to have the pawn on a2 because otherwise I would go f4
Right.
in this position instead of
Except-
king f5.
Yeah. Here you're threatening the queen.
Yes. No, but
So-
even before, instead of king f5, I would go the move f4. Now
Yes.
you no longer have that move to
Right.
connect the pawns in the center because I'm just going to take, and now you cannot recapture with any piece because of check and then a1.
Right.
So-
Your threat of promotion is so strong.
He seems to be defending by one move, one tempo.
So
And he's not losing time. He played the move a5.
immediately.
Immediately a5.
Okay. a5. Okay. It's always a good idea after a move like a5 to get the rook behind the pawn at once, because that stops any options of moving the rook to the side.
And we're going to keep an eye on this game, but we're going to go to a short break, and we're going to give you some more information about the Lohia Foundation, which brings eye care to third world countries, and that's actually one of the sponsors of the London Chess Classic.
Wonderful.
I think many people don't know that cataract blindness in Indonesia is number 2 highest in the world. This is no longer a health problem, but a social problem. Whether you're a king or you're a beggar, you deserve equal quality eye care.
It all started because of Dr. Ruth, who runs the Tilganga Eye Care Hospital in Nepal. And I read about him, I was following his story, and I was extremely fortunate to meet him in Singapore. I think that's where our journey began.
All right. How many fingers am I holding up? 3.
And he inspired us to consider looking at cataract as one of the healthcare initiatives for our foundation. I often say we are changing lives because all these people who walk into our camp who are blind and leave the next day with eyesight, I have personally heard so many stories from each camp where truly lives are changed.
Makin sehat ya, terima kasih. Sudah 2 tahun. Terima kasih ya.
Bahagia, betul. Hampir saya sudah mati, kembali lagi hidup.
Cantik ya, Neng juga. Amin, terima kasih ya. Enak seperti baru lagi penglihatan. Diceling,
jarinya.
Enak nikmat lah, sekali susahin begini. Nikmat dari Tuhan. Biasanya orang 4 meter tuh nggak itu, cuma rabun gitu aja. Jadi nggak jelas. Sekarang mah nggak kelihatan tuh orang lalu lalangnya.
Bang, lihat ini. Ketinggali jelas. Ini, lihat ini Bu. Ini sabaraha. Iki 1.
Bilki cucu emak, mau bisa ngeren ka emak. Ayeuna santas dioperasi, ke kemanapun kumah dikejar terus.
How do you feel? Hari ini happy?
I'm very happy now. That's maybe this, my eyes all clears. Yeah?
Oh, very
no
nice.
No doubts. Yeah. Very nice.
I'm so happy to say that in this cataract camp, there were more than 13 volunteers who flew in from different parts of the world. Just by word of mouth, we were able to inspire even 13 people. Restoring eyesight is such an immediate effect. They come back the next day and they're able to see.
Pengen suatu waktu mau membanggakan mama bapak sama mau sekolah yang pintar.
Oh iya, Neng yang cantik juga ya anak udah bisa, udah bisa ikut cantik kelihatan.
This is life-changing experience. You see a person blind today, and tomorrow the person can see again. I mean, what more can you ask for? What other miracle can you wish for?
When you visit St. Louis, you'll probably want to watch the Cardinals or the Blues. What about after the game? Heading back to the hotel would be a major error. Instead, boogie through the city and discover the music that gave the blues their name. At the National Blues Museum, Broadway Oyster Bar, or even the legendary Blueberry Hill. So whether you love the Cardinals, the Blues, or the blues, come play with us. Hey, you guys know I can't play this, right? St. Lou is always exploring.
Welcome back to our coverage of the London Chess Classic, the last stop on the Grand Chess Tour, our finals. As we see here, the top talent waltzing around. I just saw Gawain Jones.
Yes.
But here we see Levon Aronian seeing whether he can be the only man to spill blood in the classical portion so far here at the Grand Chess Tour Finals. And will he do it? Well, yes. What do you think?
Well, Jennifer, on our break, that was exactly what Cristian and I were been discussing. We think so, and it really takes active play, right, Cristian? We were looking at Rook coming to A2 because we felt that it's absolutely imperative to require White to play the move G3.
Immediate active play.
Yeah.
We cannot lose a single tempo.
King H2, A4. King H3 was our main line, right? Recall it for me how it went. A3.
A3.
And now I had to play G3. And I want to bring my king to G4, but I don't want to lose my G2 pawn.
And I think he did play the move Rook A2, by the way.
And now Rook A1.
And now Rook A1.
And then King G4.
Exactly. And now A2. This
Okay.
was crucial that you get your pawn to A2 so that you're ready to move your rook.
Or Rook H1, for instance, if King F5, we have Rook H1.
Rook H1, a definite idea. To trade, you want to trade this pawn for a pawn. We were always of this
Rook
bet
F1 too, yeah.
To get this one for this one, but I think your Rook H1 is actually good enough too.
The problem with Rook H1, this is exactly what happened to Fabiano in his first rapid game. He forgot about an intermediary check.
Right, Rook A7.
Rook H1, Rook A7.
Right. That makes all the difference in the world.
And I'm hanging on to something. I'm not saying it's winning by any means. Right now, I think it might be. Because after Rook H5, King E6, I'm actually threatening checkmate.
Yeah, that looks problematic.
It's very passive.
So you like Rook F1 better?
Yes.
Yeah. Here, also, I got the feeling that with such an active king, there's serious issues with this active king.
I still think you're within equality range, but after Rook G5, potentially, Rook G5. But then you go F4, you have to deal with the connected passers. It's not easy, especially from a practical point of view.
No.
This is not the way to go.
This active king, you know, I'll get a pass pawn, an E pawn. But definitely Rook F1 changes the complexion there. Our current position?
King H2, he played.
We
and
A2,
Maxime is pushing his pawn, A4.
Okay.
King H3,
to H3.
They're playing so quickly. They really feel like they've got to figure it out, Yaz.
Yes, they do.
At this point, it seems to be quite forced.
A3 played. That's what they think.
So
Indeed.
now they will have reached our key position. Now, in this moment, I can force it to be Black's move, but why would But why?
How would you do that?
I could move my rook around a little bit, you know.
And then I go King F6.
Yeah, like something like this, right?
King F6, and then I have King E6.
And now, Oh, it's still not true.
And it's the same. It's the same position. I
Yeah,
go
because
king
you have the e6 square too.
I have f6 and e6.
Right.
So are you
Okay.
saying that at some point you have to go for king f5? Or is there some other way?
Okay, just a second. So this is our position.
With
We were we looking at f4 earlier, but now it's different because we were trying to. I think we were playing it before you got a2 and rook a1 in.
Right.
Now, of course, if f4, unfortunately,
You
our
just take
shield,
it.
we lose our shield because after pawn takes f4, there's rook g1 check.
Right.
And the lines that we were looking at where black was not as aggressively pushing that pawn, that wasn't possible.
Exactly.
See, that's interesting because I think that the intuition was don't push the pawn so quickly because it boxes you in at the end and the rook is in a worse spot on a1, but actually it turns out that it seems like it's the best defense because
Yeah.
because of that, because it prevents that f4 idea.
And again, it's the most active play for,
Right.
for the defender to push your pawn as quickly
It's
to
a concrete
A2.
position. It's a very
And-
concrete, very
right.
calculation-based position, and it seems like Levon just simply lost all his advantage in this endgame.
By the way, G3 was played. Rook
G3,
A1
rook A1 is played.
Is already on the board. We are expecting King G4, A2, and then the players will have reached this key moment.
Let's try to do this exercise.
Okay.
Let's try to lose the tempo with black. So let's say instead of rook to A2, let's assume he would have played the move rook to A1 check.
I'm sorry, which moment?
After rook to A6.
After rook to
right
A-
here.
Okay.
After rook to A6, rook to A1. Let's see if it makes a difference or not. I just wanna understand whether rook A2 was necessary.
I think in the
A4.
game, NVL has provoked the move G3, and I think that's actually very important.
A3?
Because this is where we get that previous
Yeah.
idea. The king comes to F5
Yeah.
with the pawn on G2, and I've got ideas of rook check.
And the pawn is protected on F3.
Correct.
That is the difference.
So that was very, very clever in the game position for what MVL has done.
Yeah, and we actually have the position with the king on G4 and the pawn on A2.
Okay.
We've reached that position. Aronian,
And this is the key moment.
Aronian is thinking how to make any progress. There's absolutely no other way but king F5.
You're right. Okay, so let's assume king F5. Let's assume rook F1,
And he went for it.
King
He
f5, yes.
And let's give a check. Let's give a check.
King G8.
King to G8. Now,
Actually, do I want to go on G8?
This would be wonderful to go king to G6 and threaten checkmate, but rook takes, and I'd get checkmated.
Yeah.
Oh, got to show that, yeah.
Yeah. So, rook check here, rook takes, and it's like, oops. Uh-oh.
Luckily you had, yeah, I'm thinking of my little Fabian.
Yeah, exactly.
But instead of rook takes G7 would have been okay, better, but yeah, whatever.
After rook F. Well, you can also go A1.
Yes. A1 stops mate, oops, and wins the game.
We're looking at a lot of lines that would please the Frenchmen.
Yeah.
The French audience.
True.
Bravo,
So king
bravo,
F5.
great analysis.
Yeah. So we're expecting after king G8, rook takes, right?
Rook takes A2.
Okay.
I think is the only move in the position. Or rook A check, but that doesn't really make a lot of difference.
Takes.
Rook F3, rook F1. And
As expected.
I gotta say, he did play that move with a bit of elan. Like I had mentioned earlier, if he does manage to save this, how beautiful it is. It's a different type of feeling. Kind of more like finishing a tough workout.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, no pain, no gain, right? And definitely, sometimes you just got to tip your hat, but here we feel that Levon is going to be very upset with himself about that rook A1 move.
He has to be.
That was all the difference in the world. Black got an active rook, and he should not.
He needs to be upset about rook C2 instead of rook A1. What he could have played. He needs to be upset about H6 yesterday. What he could have played. A lot of could have in this instance. And Levon is not finishing his opponents off. That is a big problem, and it seems to be plaguing him all throughout the year. So we'll have to wait and see whether his intuition is going to speed up and he's just simply not going to be allowed to overthink these decisions. And maybe that's actually going to help him in the rapid and blitz time controls. Because his preparation is top-notch. That is clear. He trained diligently for this match. I don't think he has only one idea in store. I think he prepared a lot of ideas that he will show during the rapid and blitz time controls. But he has to get over this slump of not finishing the game.
Yeah, well, again, today, Jen, an hour extra on the clock, a really, really nice position. And here's our schedule.
Well, we've got Rapid and Blitz tomorrow. That's going to start at 2 p.m. in London. That's 8 a.m. here in St. Louis. We actually start at 7:50 local time in St. Louis, 8:50 on the East Coast, followed by a rest day on Friday. And then we have our finals. As we know, we're going to have one American and one of these men who are currently battling now. To review the formats for the other types of chess, well, Rapid's going to be game 25 with a 10-second delay. So that'll be 4 points at stake for each game. And then we move on to Blitz, 5 minutes with a 3-second delay. So not the fastest of Blitz games, which, you know, potentially cuts into the potential edge of Maxime and Hikaru in these formats, but still pretty fast. And gosh, that's going to be a treat. So much chess on the third day of each of these mini matches.
Exactly. And 14 points up for grabs, 8 on the Rapid.
12 and 16 it should be, right?
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, so a lot of
of
stake
points.
in that last day.
Wow.
That's where the money is.
If after that we still have a tie, we go into the tie breaks, which the time control is going to be even lower. And then if the tie breaks, if the Blitz tie breaks are going to be equal, then we go into the Armageddon. Okay. And the only match that I can remember going into the Armageddon between top players was the one between MVL and Aronian last year in the 2017 World Cup, in which they went to Armageddon, and actually that was a topsy-turvy game, because I think the side that had to win could have won in the end, and instead of that he allowed a counterplay, he made a draw, and Black won that match, which was Aronian, and qualified to the candidate spot, and the rest is history. But these guys have some history between each other, and I think we're going to see a very, very complex, very long match
between these two.
Between these two guys, yeah.
Well, I still remember watching these two players playing in that semifinal in the World Cup, and as you said, it was Levon who qualified, which secured his candidacy into Berlin. As well, he won the finals against Ding Lerin, and that was big prize money. So when these two guys get together, there's a lot at stake.
Absolutely.
And we do have, by the way, Rook takes A2. There was Levon was thinking whether or not he should first toss in a check or not. He decided that his best option was Rook takes A2. We can expect Rook takes F3 check, and I'm assuming you don't play King G4 and offer a draw, but you play King takes E5. And
do you?
Rook, sorry?
Do you?
What?
Do you play King E5, or do you just go King G4 and offer a draw?
I go King E5.
King E5.
And then I'll probably offer a draw later.
Anyway.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think that after Rook takes, you know, I don't know. I mean, just to suggest that I could go Rook H2 and King F4, and well, after Rook G5 check, I think it's going to be an easy draw.
No, but look at him. He knows it. He knows he missed another one.
He's let his prey escape.
No,
hey
absolutely.
guys, it's hard to win a chess game in London.
Very difficult.
Like, what's going on, Jen? I mean, I remember ourselves being here at the Sinfield Cup and watching a certain, shall we call him Fabiano Caruana, have a streak of 7 consecutive wins.
It's incredible. I mean, that was such an outstanding result. But I mean,
2014.
Wow. I mean, even in 4 years later, you wonder if it's as likely now with players training with stronger computers and having even better defensive and opening ideas.
Right.
I don't know. Obviously that even at that time that was massive anomaly, statistical outlier, but would it be even rarer now?
Right.
What do you think, Cristian? Would that result be even less likely now?
Which one?
Fabi's 7-0.
Well, Fabiano, for example, I'll give you another interesting stat. He didn't lose a single classical game since Rustom Qasimjanov became his coach in London. So he's traveling with him to London since 2015. He hasn't lost a single game in classical chess. And I don't think he lost a lot of rapid games either until the match against Magnus Carlsen, in which he lost 3 rapid games. Yeah, I think it's very difficult to win a game nowadays, especially between these guys, and it shows.
Well, another quick contrast for a second. 2018, we had an extraordinary event here in St. Louis, the U.S. Championship. And Fabiano had a phenomenal U.S. Championship, gaining rating points. I think he was +5, was Fabiano. But then there was a guy, his name was Sam Shanklin. Sam Shanklin decided to go +6 and become the new U.S. champion. And it was just an amazing U.S. championship.
It was
victories,
+5,
yeah, victories galore, I want to say,
wait,
for the players.
Who was +5? Sam?
Fabiano.
Fabiano was +5.
Fabiano
right,
was +5, Sam +6.
That was extraordinary, and Fabiano's games were also so dazzling.
Right.
I think even Magnus had a little quip for it afterwards, where he said, "Well, don't worry, Fab. It's been a while since I've won the Norwegian championship, too."
Okay. And by the way, we do have this king takes e5 variation on the board, but no rook h2. It was a simple rook e7 check. Is Levon putting his trust in this past
has
e-pawn?
an hour and 46 minutes on the clock.
King g8, king
Did he lose
d6?
his patience in this game? At critical moments? I mean, he had so much time to think it out.
Did Levon?
Levon, yeah.
Yeah.
He has so much time left on the clock. I mean, we could be sitting here for another 3 hours if this.
If he decides to
want.
just to take a 2-hour pause. Oh boy, oh boy. And he has just played king d6, so he's putting all of his eggs behind this e4 basket.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a good decision, Cristian? You can, for example, check.
It's definitely the practical decision. You can check on d3, then I'm going to go king to e7,
let's
7
say.
or 6.
And
because
then I
e7,
will
rook
go
e3.
Rook e3.
But then you go rook a4,
and
you can still not push the pawns yet. So I can even go g6 in this situation.
g6 takes and king g7.
King g7. And I think this should be enough.
And then black will capture this pawn, and he will start pushing, and eventually everything will come off.
Once my king gets active, I don't think I will have any sort of problems defending this one. So I want to play king e6 after the check.
So king d6, obviously white is hoping that black will be seduced by this pawn on h5 and just allow this e-pawn to go up the board when suddenly you get a situation where it's like, oops, it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
The pawn on the e-pawn, it's a girl.
That's game over.
Exactly. So that was why we were thinking that after king d6, do not dilly-dally and take this pawn, but
or
rather
maybe just go g6 first, immediately. Create the passed pawn.
g6, e5.
You know, thanks.
I'll take that.
Yaz, when you said it's a girl, like I gotta thank you, because I've been trying to think of a name for that configuration where you have like a pawn on e7 and a rook on a8.
Yes.
That's a little more colorful, like
Yeah.
because once that's a really important endgame configuration.
Exactly.
But it doesn't have a name like the Philidor or the Lucina.
It's
so,
nice, yeah.
So when I teach people, I'm trying to just say, yeah, remember that, but what's that? And now I'm thinking the midwife.
Yeah, it's a girl.
It's the midwife. The rook on a8 is the midwife, right?
Fantastic.
I mean, it's a she, right?
It
Right.
delivers, yes. The
It
rook is a she.
delivers. Yeah. Okay, we're making chess history.
I finally got
Every day,
it.
every
It's been
day.
years I'm trying to come up with something good for that.
Midwife. Well, we're at our creative best at these moments, right?
Let's try rook d3 as well.
Sorry. what?
Instead of g6.
Yeah, I like the rook
Let's
d3.
see if that... No. King e6. I want to play king e6.
Ah, you want to play
I want to
in this?
support that pawn. So whenever you go rook e3, I go e5.
I see. Okay.
If you want to play rook e3, I don't think you do, but...
Right. Now can I be, shall we say, greedy?
Maybe. I'm going to
because
go
now
e5.
Yeah, now your pawn isn't that frightening, or maybe it is. Oops, excuse me. I meant to take this pawn, of course. Come on. Ah! Sorry, my mouse is slipping. There we go. Deliverance.
All right, so...
All right. So the idea is, of course, to come back and come back around.
Let's try to go rook to a8 first.
Okay,
Just
so
to,
that forces my king...
throw you away?
Yeah, away from the pawn. King now has to go to d6.
Do I want to go king d6, or do I just want to put the rook behind the pawn? So rook to a1, for example.
Whoa. Or rook
or
to
a3 is fine.
Okay.
Rook a3 is fine as well. I don't know which one is.
It would help my mouse if you chose a3.
Rook a3 is fine.
Okay.
At least for the moment.
And then I'll come down, and you can get behind the pawn.
Rook
if
e3,
you like.
yeah.
But now you haven't. Now my king can come back.
I seem to be a little bit slow, right?
Maybe my king can come back, and I'll be in time to block the pawn.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it seems that if I don't actually get to queen that pawn immediately,
yeah,
you get a configuration which is allowing you to defend.
Exactly.
So with a king on the e file, you're safe. You're safe being greedy.
I'm safe being greedy.
But he did play g6.
G6 played.
Which makes the most sense, to be honest. It's the most practical chance.
After king d6, he did not play rook d3. He
and
played g6.
immediate rook a check from Levon.
Really?
Literally as if it was a blitz game, yeah.
Wow.
So he's ready.
Well, he has, how many hours did we say? 2 hours?
1 hour and 47 minutes, Yasser. He has plenty of time to think it through, but there's not much to think through right now.
Okay. Sorry, I know he played rook check, and I guess he's about to offer a draw. But had he played e5, what was the idea?
King f7, rook a7 check on the board, by the way.
King f7, rook a7. What?
What about just check in that position? Yeah, after rook a8, king f7 was played.
Right. Rook a8, king... Oh, pardon me. I beg your pardon.
They're going to repeat the position.
They're making
rook
a
a8, king f7, rook a7.
By the way, David Sedgwick of the Grand Chess Tour had written me earlier to clarify that it's only in completely dead draw on endgames that they're able to have a draw by declaration, because they don't want to put the arbiter in the awkward position.
Exactly. And
having
there
determined things. And here we have it, Levon and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. Bravo on the defense, MVL. He held his own today in a position that looked so terrifying.
Right.
So that was well done. Levon, of course, a little bit disappointed, as
he's very disappointed.
He had great opportunities in both games, but especially in this one.
I think so too. Not to criticize, because it's tough. It's tough. It was exactly here, however, we got to give great credit to MVL to come up with knight b4, knight a2. It's not like the most intuitive move, but it was right here that this move rook a1, and there you have it.
And yes, indeed, we got the semifinals. All the classic games are in the books, and they've all been drawn. 4 games here in the semifinals, all drawn. But I can tell you one thing, guys, we're not going to see 12 draws tomorrow.
No, we're not. We're going to see a lot of action in the Rapid and the Blitz. And, yeah, we're going to see a lot of decisive games. I just wanted to say here on my board, this is where we were all thumping the table for the move rook c2. And we feel that this was the key moment of the whole game. And Cristian, if you could explain why that was the whole difference.
I'm not bashing Aronian for the fact that he didn't find rook c2. I'm a little bit disappointed that he didn't spend more time in trying to decipher this position.
Right.
As you do generally when you're in good shape. You know, you try to get to the bottom of it. You try to understand the truth in the position. He wasn't patient enough. And that's why I'm a little bit disappointed and a little bit upset at him. And I think he's upset at himself as well.
Because he had the time.
He had the time, that's the thing.
On
He
the
had
clock.
so much time. He had an hour and 30 minutes. Maybe an hour and 20 minutes at this point in the game. And he could have found, I mean, he's a quality player. He's one of the top guys out there. You will be able to find rook c2 if you give it some thought. I feel he just like rushed, went for rook a1, understood that he has a pawn up, and he has good chances of converting. But you need more precision to win games at this level.
Agreed all around, and if I could also be a little critical at this moment myself, I also thought that, again, when you think about the chess clock and how much time he had, I thought knight c5 was also a very, very impatient move. It's not like black has any really great threats, and I thought that I liked your move very much b4. I thought that that was the most incisive, but because of the clock situation, I also said I like h4 and saying, hey, how you like your position?
Yeah.
Go ahead and play.
Absolutely.
Your turn.
Absolutely.
What are you going to do? Just to put a little bit more pressure on my opponent, put my pawn on h5, play b4 prior to putting the knight on c5. And then, I mean, again, this was a really, this is an incredible idea, knight b4.
And b6, yeah.
I mean, and b6, and just going into this pawn down ending, and MVL just, he found a little window, and he crawled his way through it to a draw.
And we have Alejandro with Levon in London.
Thank you, guys. I'm here with Levon Aronian, pressing again in the classical game, but not enough. Tell us a little bit about what happened.
It's kind of a innocent-looking line, but you can play it sometimes.
Had the surprise d4, seemed like your opponent wasn't ready for it.
Yeah. And, well, he played precisely, and then the position is generally close to equality.
In this endgame?
Yeah. But visually, it's better for white.
Right. The double pawns cause a bad impression.
Yeah.
Seems like you got something going on, right? You even won a pawn at some point.
Yeah. And then, well, I think he misplayed it somehow. And then here, well, I mean, I have all kinds of moves. I can play b4, but I thought knight c5, h4 is, you know, very tempting.
Very direct.
Yeah.
I actually missed this night before idea. Not that it's a great idea, but at least he gets to jump around a little bit. And here I thought this should be very close to be winning for white.
This one here. We're actually wondering if you missed, Cristian was very critical of your move rook a1, supposed to move rook c2.
Oh my god. Of course I missed it.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing. How embarrassing is this? Not to see rook. Of course. We both missed it.
Yeah, the idea obviously that rook c2 is explained to the audience, taking b3, and unlike the game, the rook doesn't actually get to the c file in time.
Wow. Yeah, and then should be winning. Strange. Somehow you think that you have to go and take the knight. But it's not going anywhere. Yeah? But here it also should be winning somehow. I think I had many options. Rook c3 I thought is a good option. Then something like h5 or king h2. Because b4 is always runs to rook c8. Yeah? No, what am I talking about? No, not here. Check, and then I can always play with rook d8.
Rook d8 at some point, right? Harassing the pawns. It feels like you've been pressing twice.
C2.
Right after rook c2. It feels like you've been pressing twice, but accuracy's not been very strong here, letting Maxime go twice.
I've been very inaccurate in my play. No, somehow I thought that I have all the tempi in the world, but of course I don't have all the tempi in the world.
Not so much.
Yeah, it's weird, some hallucination.
Well, you're going into the Rapid and Blitz now, tied with Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. I feel a little bit of your frustration here coming out of the game, but one day to recover, and good luck in the Rapid and Blitz.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Levon, and let's go back to the studio as we'll soon have Maxime Vachier-Lagrave.
Thank
you, Alejandro.
Alejandro. Look forward to MVL interview as well. Boy, big miss there. And the first thing when Rook C2 was suggested to Levon is like he just bang hit himself upside his head. How could I miss that move? He had all the time in the world to think about it.
I guess it's just one of those moves that escapes your vision because it seems like you need to take the knight. I mean,
As
that's what
he
Levon said. It's,
Yeah.
This is why computer engines are so powerful. But the thing is, these top players are so used to working with computers that if he had thought a little longer, he would have seen it.
Of course.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
not that the Paul Morphys and Capablancas wouldn't have either.
No, I'm sure they would have also. And it was just like one of those things where he rushed. He rushed it several times in this game. It was almost like he was impatient to win, Cristian.
No, absolutely. And it's an easy position. It's very easy to miss this type of ideas when there's a lot more pieces on the board. But there's like 2 pieces on the board. There's a couple of rooks and a knight. I mean, take your time. Find the move Rook C2. You will find it. I guarantee you, as a 28, as a 27, as a 2600, I think you will find those type of moves. At least it's going to become one of your candidate moves.
Right.
And then you're going to be able to develop and understand what you have to do later. But you have to find it. Anyway, let's go back to London because we have Alejandro with MVL.
Thanks, Cristian. We're here with Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. Maxime, it seems like you've suffered twice in the classical games, but you made it through.
Yeah, today I couldn't remember this line because I've rechecked a bit of everything, but definitely not this D4. And well, I should have. I mean, it's my fault. And
so you were trying to remember your preparation, or you haven't checked D4?
No, I probably checked, but I couldn't remember, so I just started anew. Like I realized that knight takes D4 was too dangerous after a while. And I'm not sure I should have gone for this endgame because after knight takes d4 I realized that maybe I should play bishop c4, but
bishop c4 has actually been played before.
Yeah, but I wasn't sure. It's a bit dangerous. And I saw the position after bishop d2, and I assumed find a way there, but then I missed this very nice idea f3 bishop e3, I mean, which is not that difficult to find, but after which I'm definitely suffering, and for a while it looked like, I mean, after knight d3 and move 23, I thought like I'm probably close to lost, but I managed to keep on fighting, and I found this idea with knight b4 and b6, which probably should be lost, but I saw this rook c2 on move 28.
You did see rook c2.
Yeah, it probably wins, but I mean, it's probably more precise, but I still managed to get my rook to d1, so I thought...
Yeah, after king takes e6, b3,
rook d8. I mean, there's still king e2, but at least I have some checks. I do manage to get my rook, but of course it was better than the game, and still in the game I thought it should be lost, but I couldn't find a definite win for Levon. I thought I should let him find it, not try to find it myself.
Well, we analyzed for a while, also couldn't find a direct win for white there in that position.
I mean, you could definitely press more.
Any particular position where you think?
I mean, I think rook d8 was...
this one rook d8, right?
Yeah,
it was a mistake. Instead of rook d8, rook c3.
Yeah, something like this. I mean, I'm not sure it's probably already within drawing margin, I thought, but and I don't know, maybe, just maybe, like try to instead of king h, or maybe king h3, doesn't matter, like try to get this position. I don't know how exactly, like king g3.
Yeah, king g3.
Yeah.
Which position are you trying to accomplish?
I'm trying to get the same position as in the game, like this position, but with the pawn on g2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't see actually a way to make that happen.
Yeah, because I might have king e7.
King e7 and just pass.
I thought so, but then maybe you run and my king gets to f8 instead of g8, and I thought it's slightly more dangerous, but probably still a draw.
Still a draw.
Yeah.
You're going into the faster time controls, and it seems like today you spent a lot of time in the opening trying to get out of trouble. You still kind of got into trouble. Anything you need to change before we get into tomorrow?
Well, my preparation, I guess. But it's on me. It's definitely on me, and I'm hoping to find the time tonight we check some of the signs.
I'm sure you have a long night ahead of you. 6 games tomorrow. Good luck, Maxime, and thanks for joining us here.
Thank you, Alejandro.
And we go back to the studio with the guys in St. Louis.
Thank you, Alejandro. And there we have it in the semifinals, Jennifer, all tied up.
That's right, and we're going to be coming back tomorrow to break those ties as we have Blitz and Rapid. But let's go to Cristian Chirila for his final thoughts on today's action.
Oh, absolutely. We have some amazing chess, extraordinary preparation, especially from Aronian. Hikaru, I cannot blame him. To be honest, I would probably have done the same thing. Try to neutralize Black's ideas, any sort of ideas, make a draw, go into my strengths, which is the Rapid and the Blitz time controls, and take it from there. I think this is the most practical choice by Hikaru. And he took a page from Magnus Carlsen's ideas. Aronian needs to understand what he's doing wrong. I think he does, and he needs to change that. He needs to play a bit more intuitively, and he needs to find those critical moments and spend more time in those critical moments. I'm sure he knows that he will have to get out of this slump and do better next time. MVL is doing quite well. The problem is his repertoire is a little bit static, and he's an easy target for Aronian. This is going to be the story tomorrow. Will he be able to change something overnight? Will he go with the same weapons in the battle? And will Aronian come up with some new ideas? It's going to be a fun day tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to call all the action with you guys. But let's go to London and hear what Alejandro's final thoughts are.
No, I have to agree with you, Cristian. That is definitely going to be the story in that match tomorrow. Can Aronian keep coming up with the surprises, and Maxime, that's been against the ropes twice in a row, can he turn that script around? Very exciting games. As you said, Cristian, what Hikaru has done against Fabi, kind of expected. He wants to save his energy for tomorrow, wants to save his surprises in the opening for tomorrow. It's going to be very exciting, all tied up going into the Rapid and Blitz. Well, we'll be here tomorrow to call all the action.
Thank you, Alejandro. Jen?
Well, I can't wait, as we've seen so many draws in London, the idea that these Rapid and Blitz are really going to show us so much excitement. I think that Fabi's going to do great in the Rapid, but Nakamura is going to really be pressing in the Blitz. So that match is, in my mind, really tough to call. Exactly. And then the other match, of course, anything can happen. But a similar story, Levon getting the edge in the Rapid and VL in the Blitz. So much to watch, and it's all going to go down tomorrow at 2 p.m. in London, which is 8 a.m. here in St. Louis.
Right. We'll be here to call all the action. Thank you so much for sharing your day with us, and be sure to join us tomorrow as well. Thank you and goodbye.